Keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Not today, say.
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
Go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting them scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off. Son of God, no, I am not son of man. Blessings keep falling, the fingers keep coming in. I got you, but just know I'm texting like Uncle Sam. Left to the bank, you know that I'm coming in. We don't do it for the bands though, we don't do it for the clout. Legacy on the line, so I'm moving in and out. Seen good ones turn top dog, greedy ones get knocked off. I keep looking at the bench like I could never not ball. Coach keep me in the game, Curry deadly with the range. I keep looking in the mirror like, who is he? I'm insane. Who am I? He insane. Guess I ain't the one to blame. What's done is done, won't change. Time to live up to my name. Real will be real, fake gon' fall. Took time with this here, I'm made for a while. No sleeping, no, I won't fall. No sleeping, no, I want it all. I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Not today, say.
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
Go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting them scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off. Told my baby, meet me at the bank. Told my mama, I'ma break the trend. Locked in, I'ma change the weight. Working for them, baby's kids. Hard times couldn't make the rent. Working hard, couldn't save a cent. Lonely nights, just me and God. Swear to him, always made the ends. Grab a paper, see the news. Hate coming by the tools. Walk a mile in my shoes. Something you can never do. Got my back against the wall. Bet I always pull through. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Sending shots, I block 'em. Superman with the moves. Rock 'em, sock 'em, drop, pop 'em. Play to win, never lose. Run it up, I top 'em. Play full belly too. I hip hop or pop 'em. Anything I could do. The real won't be real, fake gon' fall. Took time with this here, I'm made for a while. No sleeping, no, I won't fall. No sleeping, no, I want it all. I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Not today, say.
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
Go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting them scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off.
Every time I look up on me, come on, look up on me. Every time I look up on me, come on, look up on me. Every time I look up on me, come on, look up on me. Every time I look up on me, like you supply, all our clients. Look, it's a surprise, don't deny us. She telling me she want to be my lover, yeah. I love you when she want to be my lover, yeah. My little baby go rise on me. My little baby go right on me. Maria, 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 ah. Every time I look in her Kilimanjaro. Kiliman, nah, she no island girl, she from Kilimanjaro.
If you grew up in the 90s like I did, you are more or less reminded of great singers like the swooner Keith Sweat. Keith Sweat made a song that said, "Make this last forever." But unfortunately, we live in a time where divorce rates are precipitous as it relates to a 70 to 90% divorce rate, with 90% being led by women. And because of that, men are more or less in a very perilous predicament. Are American men actually wanting to get married? Or are American men afraid of unfair divorce laws and more or less the divorce system? I want you to join me live tomorrow, and we're going to have a pointed discussion, and we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of divorce. As you know, great men like Kevin Samuels actually are advocates for marriage. But then there are men like Coach Greg Adams and others that are not necessarily for marriage in this modern system. Should the American man get married to most modern women? Or should men more or less explore their options to stay single or more or less date outside the confines of the United States? American men have been conditioned to be more or less probably blue pill simps. And because of that conditioning, they are more or less programmed to assume that marriages will last forever. But unfortunately, marriages don't last forever. And because they don't last forever, should men get married in modern times? You decide. And I want you to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. Should men get married in these modern times? You decide.
In the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom bada boom ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
All right. I'm bringing it to you live from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. Now listen, we're going to have a powerful and a poignant discussion on today. And the purpose of this discussion is marriage viable in these modern times. We're going to talk about 3 major content creators in this space. Kevin Samuels is one, which is a proponent for marriage, as he appears to be the hapless romantic. Shout out to that brother. We're going to talk about the millennial mediocre tutorials and reviews. But then we're going to talk about the Gen Xer, Coach Greg Adams. Listen, marriages like, what's the guy's name? I can't think of his name. Morris Chestnut are rare. It's rare that you'll find marriages that have more or less eclipsed 10, 15, or 20 years. And it could be argued that the reason why these marriages are not lasting long is that many women are not wife ready, and that some of the men are not husband ready as well. We live in very decadent times where men and women don't know and understand the importance of fusion or more or less symmetry. And because of that, you have a faltering marriage rate. Men are more or less divesting because they don't see the benefits. I want you guys to share this content on the day. Now, if you like what I'm doing, hit the subscribe button, hit all notifications, and cash out to 7 Smalls. Men that are in divorces due to whatever reason are at a greater risk for suicide because of no-fault divorce. And we're going to explore the dynamics behind why marriage should be viable in these modern times. And the question remains, does marriage bring inspiration to peace? I want you guys to listen to this clip by Kevin Samuels. We're going to break it down. And then I'm going to have my man, Young Crab, come on. We're going to chop it up together as a team, all right? So I want you guys to listen. All right, while this video is popping up, waiting for Kevin Samuels to start talking. But anyway, in this video, he was talking about the importance of marriage. And
so many of our women
right.
are really afraid. And a lot of this is why I say therapy is so important. Whatever the traumas that are there, the hurt, whatever it is, you got to get that out of the system. You cannot have a healthy relationship without healing. This month, I'm going to bring on some other content creators who you guys might be surprised to see who they are. But there is so much healing that is necessary to have a healthy relationship. Look at, we just lost Michael K. Williams. There's so much undiagnosed mental illness or trauma in our community. My personal opinion as somebody who has worked with alcoholics and addicts, we are not meant to be alone. That is why you see so many. Why do you think you are seeing so many people in the 30s to 50s who are self-destructing? Because they don't have the things that typically anchor the human animal to life. Family. We're out here living by ourselves, going from happiness to happiness. That's what drug use works. Why do people use drugs? Because they work. Being able to take a pill.
And the question remains, do many of our men and women need therapy? And I would say that they do. I would say that many actually need therapy. Some are actually struggling because they're not getting the outcomes that they want. So I would say unequivocally that many of our people need therapy. Keep listening.
Or anesthetize the feeling of loneliness. I will tell you, money does not make you happy. That's why people are always surprised and shocked to see people who are millionaires who end up dying. We need relationship. Think about Michael K. White. Imagine if in a situation where he was married, even if he was truly shooting up with heroin, and he got some fentanyl laced down, somebody may have been there, a wife, a kid, somebody. When you're alone, that's why it's happening in Korea, Japan, in the West. We are not meant to be broken up. So that's why I say my critics and detractors who think I don't like Black women. I love Black women. I just see that Black women are the one group more than anything else who is wholeheartedly bought into this independence. Unmarried, no children, and working themselves to death, and the future looks bleak. The future just looks like more work. Okay? So get over my tone, get over my approach, and understand what we're trying to get accomplished. What we're trying to get accomplished. And it doesn't take a lot. All you need is 10%. Brother, go on my channel. There are people who are talk about they found their wife, significant other. Every time I'm out and about, I run into Black men who are saying, I appreciate the message. I run into Black women saying, hey, I appreciate it. It's starting to work. It's starting to catch on. We got to be able to talk to one another. Men, we got to do our own work. We must become the value. And if we're going to be in lead and head and all that alpha male shit we talk about, we got to be willing to do all that. We shoulder the ultimate responsibility for it all. Women are women. They are emotional creatures. They are going to go left at some point. If you're not willing to deal with that, don't deal with women. All of them. All of them. It's the female equation. But if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as men, it's a hell of a lot easier to steer the ship back on course because we have more than just love. We need.
And that is the major quandary that we got to ask ourselves the question. We got to ask ourselves the question: Should men get married solely on the premise of love? Listen, with 70 to 90% of marriages ending in divorce, we got to ask ourselves the question: should men only get married based on an antiquated notion called love? I'm gonna bring my man Chris Strongheart on. Chris, can you hear me, brother? Chris, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chris?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. You got me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Yes, yeah, just lag. I don't know what's going on, but
No, I was on mute.
so we talk about the antiquated notion of love, Chris, and with 70 to 90% of marriages ending in divorce, and with 90% being educated women, what's wrong with this old equation called love, Chris? What's wrong with that, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, I feel like the game has changed. I feel like it seems like how women have decided to mate and date. It's not working in favor for men, and I feel like we're having to catch up to it. But like I said, our culture is all out of whack now because it seems like as men, we still have this old 1950s programming of this, happy wife, happy life, and two kids and a dog and a white picket fence. And it seems like the young ladies nowadays are on a whole totally different programming. And so we're having to technically play catch up and trying to understand, uh, I guess you could say, like this new dating era. Well, it's not necessarily new, but it's just more or less men are finally starting to catch up to what's really going on. So it's more like the problems in our culture are really starting to be pronounced.
And I think that pronouncement is very profound because, like I said, you had three major heavy hitters. You have an old school millennial, Gen X, and Kevin Samuels, that I said appears to be a hapless romantic. And, I'm not against marriage. Then we have video tutorials and reviews where he's closer to your age that talks about marriage, but more or less feels like there are safeguards. And I think Kevin is saying more or less that he's saying that if you go into marriage, you need to be wise. But many guys will argue whether you're married, whether you're rich or the average guy, there really is no benefits to getting married. And then you have guys like Coach Greg Adams that more or less is totally against marriage because he doesn't see it as a benefit in modern times. Chris, I want you to talk about briefly some of the things you experienced and the topic of discussion. Can men find marriages like Morris Chestnut? I use Morris Chestnut as an icon because Morris Chestnut has been married for probably over 20, 25 years. But can men find inspiration and peace in relationships similar to Morris Chestnut, in your opinion?
Well, I think that those who have gotten married, I think he got married like, how long has he been married now? He got married, was it in the 90s when he got married? Morris Chestnut. So I think that as far as being married and stuff like that is going to go, it's going to be based off of where she is, honestly. I mean, if some of these relationships may work out, most of them don't, but some of them can. I mean, if you married her at a certain time period, years and years ago, where she wasn't really exposed a whole lot to social media and stuff like that, it's just it depends on like where she is and where she's at as far as the culture goes. But nowadays, it's not common. Most marriages only lasting what, maybe 10 years. You good if you do 10,
Right.
but who is setting out here to get married just for 10 years? You know what I mean? Like, what's, as men, what benefit do we gain from that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then some people are like, oh, well, at least you tried. Because Kevin Samuels will say, oh, well, you should just go ahead and just get married, and then if it don't work out, whatever, you'll bounce back. Well, I mean, that's easy for some people to say, but
Right. I totally agree.
That's not always the case. Like,
right.
You can't just, everybody's not in that position or category to where it's just like, oh yeah, I'll bounce back. Like, no, she took half of everything that you got, or the relationship is bad, kids are involved, the kids have been damaged from the divorce. Why go through that when even the odds are against you? And like MTR says, mediocre tutorials. I watch his content as well. And the thing about it, and one of the main things he does when he brings women on, is he'll say, what benefit do men get from marriage? And as far as I know, as long as I've been watching him, I haven't found any of the females get on his platform and actually give a good reason as to why men or what they benefit out of getting married.
Right. Fioria, I can't think of his or her name, said that It's possible, but you just got to vet the person well. Well, I'll say in theory that's true. In theory, that is very true. I think you try to vet the person to the best of your ability, but you can never vet a person 100%. You can never vet a person 100%. What's your take on that, Chris?
I think that in terms of vetting, you can vet the person well. But still, I mean, the risk, there's a risk factor as to, okay, so I vet the person well. Still, what am I gaining? You know what I mean? Like, what am I gaining? Now, because people will start to get into the, oh, well, you know, if you want a family or if you want to have kids and stuff like that. Like I said before, as a young man, I believe you should most certainly be waiting to get married, because even Kevin Samuels, as he talks about it, he is speaking to a certain demographic when he talks about high value men and these marriages, and just, like Bill Gates can afford to get married, or the CEO of Amazon, he can afford to get divorced and he's gonna bounce back, he's gonna be fine. He makes it sound like, oh, y'all just broke, y'all, if y'all had money like him, it'd be nothing. So it's just kind of like, really, I feel like that you should not, as a young man, be getting married until you're way on your purpose. You're essentially, you already pretty much where you want to be in life, or you're right there to where nothing's going to stop it and nothing can change it from getting, nothing can deter it. So, I mean, vetting the person, I'd say vet the person well for a girlfriend, you know what I mean? And then,
Right.
see how things go from there, because it's going to take time to really get to know a person. And I mean, I don't know, because Kevin Samuels will say, he'll tell women, why are y'all dating? Just get married. And it's like, okay. I mean, I get to each his own, I guess. But like I said, if you're at a certain age, I would say, yeah, it's probably better for you to get married. Like, say if I was like 45 or a little older and I'm at the top of my game, I've made all the money I want to make. I'm, multiple businesses, multiple streams of income. I got multiple M's in the bank. I'm a multimillionaire. Okay. I mean, the sound of marriage isn't necessary. I mean, it's not so bad at that point, because you think, hey, I could bounce back, but still, like, the risk that's involved is like, is it worth it? Because let's say I already have kids before and I've already been married before. Now I'm divorced. For me, what am I going to gain out of getting married again? You know, um, like I said, I don't see the advantages for men. What are we really gaining,
Right.
especially in today's market? What are we really gaining?
Mhm.
You know, so that's
I,
that's how I see it.
right. I think one of the greatest this I don't know what's going on with this system in my community appears to be another lag. I apologize. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. But there appears to be a quandary, in my opinion, and that quandary is many men will argue that most modern women are not wife ready. I don't think you can fully anticipate the benefits of marriage unless you have a mindset to serve and to honor your husband. And I think the problem remains, Chris, is that many men come into marriage, like you said, operating on a 1950s hard drive, assuming that a woman is going to serve them the way their mothers and grandmothers served them, but they come into a perilous conflict because they realize that that's not really reasonable. And see, listen, I do this, guys. I do this to the guys that are listening. I love you guys that are listening. And forgive me for the lag. There's still a lag in the system. I don't know what's going on, but guys, please bear with me. But if you guys want to donate to $ Cash App Seven Smalls. That's Cash App Seven Smalls. I'll put it in the link. There's some technicality issues, but I think a lot of guys are frustrated, Chris, because with a 70 to 90% divorce rate, with 90% of divorces being ended by educated women, I think a lot of men are more or less using the principles of pragmatism, Chris, and they're saying that it doesn't make any sense to get married because there's no benefit. What's your take on that?
Yeah, like, I mean, there's definitely not much benefit. I mean, if you just look at it, you know, logically, and just kind of run down, like, you know, the culture. I mean, if she still has, single friends, her mentality of how she is, like I said, and a lot of men, they don't vet well. Um, that is a part of it, but still, we're not really in a culture that produces or that really pushes women to be wife material. So the thing is, it's more like, what are you really getting? Like, what are you gaining out of this marriage? Is the woman that you're dealing with, I mean, does she want to be a wife? You know what I'm saying? Or does she feel like she's forced into it? Or is it just because you got her pregnant? Like, where's her mind really at? You know, it can be tough to deal with those situations, but I'd say that men, we have been cultured, or essentially, we have been groomed into, being these perfect gentlemen, and pushing on us to go out there and get married, and or be a stepdad, all this other backward stuff that right now is just, it's not working. It's really not
Right.
working,
Right. I think, Chris, we go into marriages under the old school romanticism of love, but most modern women go into marriages looking at it like a business. I think when men start looking at marriages like a business, they won't take marriages serious, or more or less see it through the lens of through the rose-colored glasses. They'll just see marriage for what it is. Like I said, I think marriage is a viable commodity. I think marriage can be something beautiful with the right woman, but you can't get married on love alone. Love is a part of it. You got to see marriage like a business because the government sees it like a business. What's your take on that?
Well, I definitely agree with you that the government sees it as a business, because when you incorporate the third party aspect of it, it's just kind of like, it almost begs the question, why is that even necessary? Why does a third party need to be involved? And I feel like women most definitely look at it from a different perspective of how men look at it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's too many men who don't think about it from the business perspective. You should be looking at it like a business perspective. And if you would look at it as a business perspective more as a man, you would understand that you need to build yourself, build your empire, get to where you want to go, create your legacy. Therefore, she can come in and have something to do. Like, you know what I mean? You want to be seen as this leader, this alpha. Okay. Then if she's following your lead, what is your lead? Because you have to build it so she can come in and nest, so she can have a proper place in your kingdom. But if you don't have a kingdom and both of y'all broke, you don't have nothing to offer her. That's what I'm trying to tell us men, is that you broke. You don't even need to be focused on marriage right now. That's not something that you need to be focused on. You need to be focused on getting your purpose right. What's your passion? What do you want to do in life? Because you never know. You could have wound up being an international businessman, but you locked down somewhere in Alabama with, multiple baby mamas and kids everywhere, because you weren't on your purpose. You know what I mean? All you
Right.
was doing was just, chasing women around and all this. I'm telling you, man, it's just the mind state of the culture is not in a good place. And it's I say that there's more men who are kind of starting to get on game because of this knowledge, but at the same time, it's more or less like there's still young brothers who are getting trapped up in the game with baby mamas, child support, and just all kind of different things. So yeah, it is looking a little rough out here in these streets, but
Well, listen, Chris, as a clinical therapist, I've seen the negative impacts of divorce on the spirit and the psyche of a man. I've seen it. And it's destroyed a lot of men mentally. And many times, because of the society we live in, men tend to suffer inward. They tend to suffer in silence. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. It's still a lag. Is this computer lagging?
No, everything look good on my end, man.
Okay, perfect. Well, I don't know. It must be lagging on my end. I'm glad you guys can see it. But anyway, many men are suffering in silence, Chris, because they don't have the proper recourse to help people to talk to them. And because of that, Chris, many men are more or less at risk for suicide. Let's look at what men got 20, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. It was standard, Chris, for a woman to come with the need to serve her husband. And the man, in essence, will give that woman his life, provision, protection, his life, and also a pension. But, years ago, what the average man got, Chris, the average man got, let's be honest, he got a woman that was wife ready because her grandmother, her mother's taller.
That's right.
But also, he got a virgin. And listen, that's a topic, touchy subject because people don't want to talk about it, but he got a top tier woman.
Mhm.
But you're getting women now, Chris, like Kevin said, that has been more or less impacted by trauma. They've been in the dating market longer. Some of it is not their fault, but a lot of it is their fault because one will argue, Chris, that women are the gatekeepers to
Sex.
sex, and men are the gatekeepers to relationships.
Mhm.
And so, because of that gatekeeping, do you feel, Chris, that many women, especially some of our women, believed a lot that they could do what men do without having a severe consequence? What's your take on that?
They can try. They can try. There's severe repercussions for them trying.
Mhm.
I mean, if that's how they feel, they can give it a shot. And then women out here trying to be men, we already see what the end result of that is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because you want to be out here, you want to be single, you want to be in your masculine, fine. Then no man of real good sense is going to want to deal with you on a serious level, and then you will be what they say for the streets, and then the streets will have its way with you, and that'll just be what it is. I mean, rest in peace to the young sister who passed away recently for living that
Right,
lifestyle.
right.
Cities more, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's unfortunate that it happened that way. But like I said it on my channel in my video, like if she was married or if she was actively looking for the lifestyle to be married when she was younger, she wouldn't. I'm telling you, she wouldn't have had that problem because she wouldn't have been raised up in that because the streets was talking and they said that a lot of people knew about how she was moving in the streets, and unfortunately, that's what it was. And then you got somebody like Cardi B is gonna get up here and talk about, oh, she was a sweetheart. Well, where was you at, Cardi? Like when this young lady was out here, you know, out here in the streets, and now she got to defend herself and survive for herself. But y'all tell her to go hot girl summer it up. But what happened when it comes to the dark side of the thought culture? You know what I'm saying? You ladies are not covered. You know what I mean? And like I said in my video on my channel, I said that as black men, we're trying to talk to y'all. If you don't want to listen, if you want to repel what we have to say, the streets will have its way with you. And other races of men, they not gonna care. Like that dude who attacked old girl was a white Hispanic dude.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And I said before, like if he was, I'm telling you, if he wouldn't have done that to his own kind, I bet money he wouldn't have done that to his own kind. You know what I'm saying? He went at that sister like that, and he treated her like that because he felt like he could get away with it. And that's
Right.
sad. That's sad. And this is half the reason that we be trying to talk to y'all. If y'all don't want to listen, it is what it is. Like for me, I already have my solution. The burden is not on me. The burden is on y'all to come out here and be looking for men. Y'all, the burden is on y'all to say, hey, you know what? I'm not trying to be about that thought culture. I'm looking to be a wife. Looking for long-term relationship. Okay, cool. Also, you have to understand, are you also trying to look for a man that you want to respect his authority and see where it goes between y'all? But that's easier said than done because what's pushed in the culture is a totally different story. Um, I feel sad for how things are going, but I mean, when you live that lifestyle, man, it's just you in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not covered. So what can happen, and it's sad to say it, but hey, sometimes it just it is what it is like that, man. We can only do so much.
Right. No, I totally agree, Chris. And when you think about uh, most men are getting into relationships, like a single man. Some men are single, they never had kids. But unfortunately, a lot of men can't even get a woman that don't have children. I think, there's a study that said 29% of men are virgins in this country. That's probably millennials and zennials. What do you think it's caused the high rise, Chris, and with the 29% of men that are virgins in this country? What do you think it's caused that, in your opinion?
That's a good question. Because I've heard that before and I've thought about what would be leading to that. I can say that the younger women have more access to other dudes as far as like older dudes or guys who are like even celebrity status, even some rappers out here in these streets. Because you got to think about it. If y'all in high school, both of y'all 18, and she's like one of the baddest girls in school, but she got an Instagram and her Instagram is popping. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever's one of the rapper in that state or whatever the case, or anybody with any type of popularity to themselves in that whole state, they got access to her too technically. So it's really like the playing field or the dating field is completely against younger guys. Um, as much as they may not realize it, the dating market is completely against men who are in their younger years because she's in her prime and you just starting out trying to get your stuff together. And like Kev said, that is the ideal time is to where young ladies should be looking to get married because how it used to go is that as a young man, you could come out of high school, um, get yourself straight, get a decent job, stuff like that. And it wasn't really that hard to find what they call a virtuous young lady who was looking to be married. So the margin wasn't that far away as far as like that brother who is, doing his thing, but he's not necessarily that old. He could be like, say, 25 and she could be closer to 20. And still, it wouldn't be so bad. But now it just seems like since they have access to you got the internet, they got access to the whole world. I mean, all she has to do is hang out with her homegirls who are a little bit older and they take a girls trip to Miami or Jamaica or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then yeah, and as a young dude, you can't compete with that when you like 19 to 25. How you really compete with that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
I would say that probably has the majority to do with it. I'm sure that there's other factors, but that's probably the majority of what that's about.
Yeah, it appears to me that it appears to be access, and this causes there appears to be a lag in the system. I don't know what's going on. I apologize once again.
I can see you good, man.
Okay, well, I don't know if it's lagging, but it is what it is. You don't see any lag?
Nah. You not from me to you. Everything looks good.
Okay, but good. All right, so we're gonna keep playing this. Hold tight. Can you see it?
The
Video
video?
playing. Yeah.
No, not yet.
All right, hold tight. All right. So another thing, Chris, let's talk about it. Men, let's talk about your you can share what you want to share, Chris, but marriage rates decline far more faster than how can I say it? 8 marriages per 1,000 to 6 marriages per 1,000. So more or less is that marriage rates are declining precipitously. And what would you say is the reason for that decline? Marriage rates are declining. But before you answer the question, Chris, listen, guys, if you like what I'm doing, please donate to $ Cash App 7 Smalls. That's $ Cash App 7 Smalls if you like what I'm doing. And if you don't have anything to share as it relates to finances, please share this content with many men as possible. Listen, I love you guys that are listening. I'm trying to grow this brand. I'm going to give you guys better and better content because I am an advocate for male empowerment because many men suffer in silence. Men that are the risk of suicide was over 2 times as likely for divorced men than married men. And there was no statistical significance for women that are married. So I want to make sure that guys are not more or less being pigeonholed or more or less at risk for mental health issues because of divorce. But Chris, I asked you the question. The question remains about, I forgot what I asked you, but Chris, I want you to more or less reflect on that question.
So why the decline is what you said.
Right.
Facebook.
Yes,
there it is. Facebook is the reason for the decline. Because the thing is that nowadays, usually when a young lady has the situation, let's say she goes to college, she has a situation with a dude, right? But she came out of college, she got away from that old boyfriend, and she wound up marrying the, let's say, she wound up marrying the IT guy. But in college, she was dating the football player. But she ran off and said, "Oh, I'm gonna do the right thing, and I'm gonna marry the IT guy. He's safe, right?" And then she marries him 5 or 10 years later. They done had kids, and they done had their little life that they done had so far. But all of a sudden, they started having problems. They start having trouble in the water, and now the advent of the internet is set up to where she can always be in contact with old boy from college because next thing you know, she's going down her timeline.
Yes, sir.
Then all of a sudden, she'll see that picture of old boy that she used to date back in college, and he's with some new girl or something like that. And then she's watching him. He's out there flourishing, living his lifestyle, single, still in shape, traveling the world, doing his thing. and then all of a sudden, or it could have been they've been having problems in their marriage with the young lady, and then next thing you know, she's texting her old boy from college talking about some hey big head,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's like, "What's good?" And then
Right.
at that point, it ain't nothing but a setup.
Mm-hmm.
It's just okay, set it up. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because the access is just is there. I mean, you can try to tell her like, I want you to delete your Instagram, Facebook, and all that, but I mean, if it's in her heart to do what she gonna do, she gonna do it.
Right.
Like
Right.
if she really want to get away from you, family, trying to make her lock down her Instagram and all that, it's not gonna help you, bro.
Right.
Like if she wants to get in the streets, bro, if the streets is calling, she going to the streets. Like all she got to do, especially if she look good, she just got to go down to what the local bar. She's all she got to do is just go to anywhere where dudes be. You know what I'm saying? All that it's nothing but a thing. So honestly, I'd have to say that one of the biggest downfalls is access, because marriages are gonna get hard regardless. And now it's almost like not only was it hard to stay in marriages, it was already hard, but now there are so many almost like bonuses for women if they get divorces.
Right.
Like
Right.
it almost seems like it's designed for them to only be there for a short period of time because they're home girls, they're single girls who keep them single. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna start filling their ears up. They're gonna start filling their ears with honey. They're gonna start telling them, like, girl, you come down to this club, or girl, we can go to Atlanta all-star weekend, get away from him, you can do better than him, all that stuff that they be filling their heads up with. You know what I mean? It's hard to be out here and I actually really try to have a decent relationship. Um, I mean, so uh it's many reasons, but I can definitely tell you the internet is made it that much harder. So, like I
Right.
said,
Right.
it's gonna come down to her. Like, it's really gonna come down to what's in her heart. Like, if it's in her heart to hit the streets, bro, let her go, bro. That's why in these spaces we talk about, you can do all that you can want to do. But when it come down to it, when you start seeing these signs, don't fight her. Say, you know what? Have at it.
Yes, sir. Right.
Have at it.
That's an excellent
Have at
point.
it.
I love
Have
your
at it.
point about the internet. You're right, Chris. They did a study with how Facebook broke a lot of relationships up because a lot of women had access to
Access.
guys from their past. A lot of them actually talk to men from their past, and many are still talking to men from their past. And see, they have the access that their grandmoms and grandmothers never had. And I'm gonna tell you something. You know, that's why I know therapy is not only important for men, because I feel, Chris, that men should go to therapy before getting married, because a lot of men have been socially conditioned, Chris, in a negative way. They have not been conditioned to deal with women in accord to power and respect. They have been conditioned to deal with women in accord to servitude, meaning, Keith Sweat made the song back in the 90s, Gen X, make this last forever. So a lot of men are coming to relationships with an old school mindset, where a lot of women are coming in with a modern and a more or less pragmatic mindset. And because of that, Chris, a lot of men are actually self-sabotaging because they don't understand that they are victims of the relics of the past. Dr. T. Hassan Johnson talked about the velvet color paintings, where we look at icons and pictures of couples and relationships. But those images, Chris, have more or less now long gone. You don't see those images anymore. You don't see the vibrancy of what men had in the past compared to now. What's your take on that?
Well, when it comes to the you said the velvet painting about the whole black love and stuff like that. I see that in kind of like there's two ways to look at that. I feel like as men, you should go for your best option. I know that the older generation was really hanging on to that whole like, gotta be black love, and she gotta be black and all this other stuff. Like millennials and Gen Zs, we are not on that time. I tell you, we are not on that time. Like, I mean, I'm not just but it still does go to say that usually we will still deal with black women first, no doubt. But we don't feel a stigma to say, oh, we can't date a white girl. Like, please, you know what I'm saying? Especially now how we grew up in a more diverse culture, society. And it's not to say that just because a young brother would date a white chick, he'll never date a black girl again. And I think that's the problem that I think black women have, is they think that, oh, he'll never talk to black women again. Well, that's not the case. She was feeling him, he was feeling her. It is what it is. Generally, that's what it's about. But I would say that, don't try to lock yourself down into, social contracts like that. You know what I mean? Take your best option, man. Get out there and you know, go after what you want, man. Like, don't think that you have to be in a certain thing or a certain particular way. I would definitely say go after what you want
Right.
and do
Right.
it. Do what's best for you at the end of the day. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, ain't nobody gonna care but you because you the only person that has to live your life. You
Right.
know.
Right. Right. Chris,
So
you and I'm from the South. You lived in Texas. And there's a terminology that says that men don't believe that most women don't believe that the fat meat is greasy. Shout out to Deacon Eric Spencer. But also, a lot of men don't believe that the fat meat is greasy. And the fat meat is greasy, Chris, actually is what can lead to red pill rage, where men become enraged, Chris, because they assume and presume that women have the same beliefs, values, and mores that they have. But because of that red pill rage, Chris, they just developed a term that I created called a schema.
affliction.
A schema affliction.
Schema affliction.
They get a
Right.
schema affliction.
Schema affliction.
And Chris, they get that schema affliction because they had a fixated mindset that women are wholesome, women are loyal, women are honorable, and that women were chaste. But Chris, when they come to the realization that these women are not icons of what they presented, then they go through the red pill rage. Listen, we're going to continue to talk about the pros versus the cons of marriage from the bio, psycho, social, and the spiritual model. But Chris, as we're talking, I want you to highlight a little bit, Chris, about what you learned from your marriage that caused you to have a schema affliction.
Man, expectations.
And share what you want to share. You don't have to tell all your personal business, but share
No,
what you
no,
want to share.
expectations. That was the problem. It was expectations. I had expectations that as a young man, I was not ready for the world like I thought I was. I thought I knew so much because I got married back at like 21, might have been. I think I was 21 when I got married. I had my son at about 20. I want to say I got married around about 21. And my perception, you know what I mean, was like, you know, marriage was the answer. Our marriage was gonna make it better because once you give her marriage, everything is gonna change and it's gonna be this great coming together and this and that. Because I had different girls asking me to get married before, and in my perspective, I just was like, oh yeah, if we get married, oh yeah, it's gonna be like, she's gonna be docile and everything is gonna be good. We're gonna raise our kids, stuff like that. I wasn't ready. I was not ready. No, 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 no. Things started to get out of whack. Now, for me, in my position, I kind of saw the the outcome, ahead of time. Before we got separated, I kind of seen it coming. I just was like, man, yeah, this ain't gonna last. What the red pill rage factor of it kicked in was actually, it was after, of course, when I started learning and studying up on what was really going on out here in the streets. Now, this is after I'm divorced. And I started to study up on what was really going on in the streets, and I started being able to take that and add that into a lot of the things I was dealing with, or I got put through and I dealt with. And I said, based off what y'all telling me, this is what she was really doing. And I said, oh my God. So for me, it was like an awakening in the sense of female nature. This is how they are. I accept it. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't say that I lashed out, but it was more like acceptance. And once I fully accepted it, it was great. You know what I'm saying? It was almost like a baptism by fire. You know what I'm saying? Like while you're going through it, it's chaos, but when you come out of it, though, it's like it's an awakening. It's just like,
Right. Right.
I get it now. I understand. And then you start moving with a certain mindset to where other brothers that you may try to tell what's up and you try to talk them through it, if they haven't been through it, it's gonna be hard to get through to them because their iOS is still on some old 1950s programming, and you got these young ladies out here, they're running the highest, most up running software. They on some, you know what I mean? They on the iCore 7. They moving, they up on it. They getting the updates from Apple every month. So you out here lost in the sauce, and you wonder how come she's running rings around you, and you don't know what she up to. You know what I mean? And it's because a lot of men have expectations in these young ladies. They expect them not to do what they are. And
Right.
my thing is, now I'm gonna come straight off the cuff. They all thoughts to me. They all thoughts to me. Prove to me that you're not what I think you are,
Right.
and then we can go from there.
Right.
Because
Right.
that's why I see no, honey, you for the streets. Show me that you're not for the streets, and maybe I'll take you serious.
Right.
Because
Right.
that creates a level. Because that's called having boundaries and standards when
Right.
you deal with these young ladies out here in the street. I'm gonna treat you like a street thought until you show me something else. That does not mean that I'm gonna have to come at you being rude and disrespectful. I just don't have any expectations for you.
Right.
That's
Right.
what
Right.
it means.
Right. No,
Until
you're 100%.
you show me something different.
No, you're 100% correct, Chris. I think, guys, I like what the brother said. The environment has really changed, and decent men need to adapt accordingly. And Jade is actually correct. There are 3 stages in socialization that impacts a person. One is called assimilation, accommodation, and the last stage is adaptation. So you're correct, Jada. A person must go through those various stages, and I think a lot of men they struggle with it because they go through denial. So in grief, is you have what's called denial, anger, bargaining. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then the last stage is acceptance. And so many men go through stages of grief when they really open their eyes up and begin to see women for what they really are. And it's not because we love women, but you got to understand that the women that you thought your mother and your grandmother were, those women were great women because men held them accountable. There is no accountability to the average or the modern woman. She doesn't take accountability. Not all. There's some good sisters that do, but I like what somebody said. You can either love a woman or you can understand them, but you can't do both. So I'd rather understand them, because you go into a relationship trying to love them, you will shoot yourself in the foot every time.
Bruh.
I told people, Chris, that there are 7 steps that a man must go through to become an optimized male, and one of them is understanding female nature and female psychology. Once you understand that, you don't even take person the things they do anymore, because that schema affliction that you had, now you see them for what they really are. Exactly. And that pedestal that you place them on, you understand under the proper conditions, even that woman you thought was great can go awry.
Go rogue.
Or erode. Exactly. Let's finish listening to this clip if we can. Hold on for a minute. Is everything moving smooth, Chris?
Not yet.
Okay. You don't see it, but you see me perfect, right?
Yeah, I see you good.
You can see my face moving, correct?
Yeah. I can see you good. You good.
Okay, all right. Some lagging on my end, but anyway. So Chris, let's talk about the pros and the cons of marriage. We're gonna talk about the pros and the cons, and so MTR talks about it. Coach Greg Adams, he talks about the pros and the cons as well.
Looking like we're living our best lives when you're really crying in the shower. I do. When y'all don't see me on YouTube, I do at least 3 to 4 consults every day.
Sounds good.
Is the video running?
Every day I'm talking to people, and I don't talk much about my consulting business every day. And I know what people are going through. I know what it is. And the thing is, the answer in life is this: success is shared. Money making is a social activity. We are better together. Men are the best versions of themselves when they're confident, intelligent, and the all important assertive piece. Women are the best version of themselves when they're feminine, beautiful, and inspirational. But that needs to be together. The inspirational part is for your CIA man. We used to have a church to where we could actually submit ourselves both to something greater than ourselves. As long as you're in a relationship about you and she's in a relationship about her, those are just 2 partners. We have to learn how to do this, and we have to do it while we're building it. It won't be perfect because we didn't learn this stuff growing up, but I refuse to believe that that we just have a throwaway generation. We have a generation of people who are men and women that are going to have to give each other equal measures of grace and mercy. But ladies, make no mistake, in order to end up having relationships that work, you must be willing to cooperate with your man and get on his page, regardless if he's paying all the bills or if you're splitting it 50-50. It just simply will not work, this partnership thing. There is not partnership. There's alignment. And stop worrying about, well, if I'm going to submit to him, who he submitted to? Don't you do your part, and he has to do his part. Because trust me, when men are doing what we're supposed to be doing, we'll keep each other in line. We'll keep each other in line. We'll check that shit. And if a man has a woman at home doing what she's supposed to do, guarantee you, more often than not, men will be like, man, what the hell? Get out of here, man. You better need to go back to your wife and kids. Because I'm going to tell you right now, any of my frat brothers will tell you, don't think you can come over to my house and you cheating on your woman. See, don't get it confused when I say high value men don't cheat. They exercise options. That's what they do. But that doesn't mean you have to. I've never cheated. I've never cheated. And people who know me would tell you he's never been a cheater. And people who also will know you would tell you, don't think you're going to use me to cheat. I wish you will come by my house talking about, hey, man, if my wife called, tell her I'm over there, fuck you. No. Your wife call me, I'm going to give her your goddamn GPS location. Call me with that bullshit. That's before YouTube. That's been since 1987. Because if you're going to have the balls enough to do it, you need to have the balls enough to tell about something. And don't be bringing me into your fuck shit. Because if you do that, she going to be mad at you. They going to get back together. But she ain't going to trust you. Forget that. So, gentlemen, we all got to have a code. I will tell you, I have fraternity brothers that will tell you that I've sat there and looked at you. If you don't get out of here, you got a good woman. You got a good woman, you better go home and you better believe something. One of these days you're going to leave that house, somebody else is going to be there. I firmly believe that when you have a good woman, a woman that's on your side, men admire that stuff and we hate to see it abused. So, ladies, stop worrying about what the men are going to do and worry about what you have to do to make yourself the best fit for the kind of man you want. And the men, we can't worry about, well, I'm going to go out here and do all the other stuff. And then, why I'm going to do that? She could take me for all I got. Man, I don't live life in fear like that. I just don't. Yeah, sure, it could happen. But then if that's the case, don't get in the car, don't get on the plane, don't do anything. Life involves risk. But I would tell you, I don't ever talk shit about my exes because headship failed to me. And I firmly believe the next situation I'm in, I understand what I'm looking.
All right, guys, can you hear me? So, Chris, listen. So it appears that, from that clip partially, that Kevin is more or less like, you need to take the risk and deal with it. What's your take on that?
Why? You know what I mean? Like, why? Out of all the stats, statistics, and data that even he talks about, why?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what? I'm like MTR. I still haven't heard a hard bargain as to why I need to be pressed to get married out here in these streets.
Right.
He said, oh, it's a risk. Oh, but don't get in the car, but don't get a plane. I have to get in the car and a plane because of purpose. I have to get to work, I have to travel, and I have to do things.
Right.
Don't have to get married. I mean, like I said, if that's something that you feel like you just want to do.
Right. If you just want to do it. Right.
I guess so. But at the same time, it's just like there is no hard bargain as to why it's going to or how it's going to benefit you. And even, we've mentioned before how he said, I heard one of his points about how in the corporate world, how if you want to be like a CEO and stuff like that, none of those guys are single, because when you're single, you're a liability. And I'm just like, is that the best you could do? Is that the best you can say? Is if you want to be up there with the CEOs, you need to act like them and have wives? Or where does it stop? Do I need to cut my hair like them too? Do I need to dress like them too? You know what I mean? Where at what point do you maintain your square as a man and say that's not me?
Right.
How far and how long are you gonna keep playing somebody else's game? That's not. I am not that. This is my lane. This is my legacy. I'm gonna go this way.
Right.
And if along that path it says I don't see a reason or any advent to where I need to get married, then it is what it is.
Right. And Chris, I'm gonna challenge something, Chris, from the biopsychosocial spiritual model. You're correct. I love your point. And listen, I'll say this slowly and succinctly. I think Kevin comes from a good place. I like Kevin. Kevin makes some good points. But I also like the points that Coach Greg Adams made. And also the millennial MTR. Like MTR says that marriage is more or less a tool. And he's correct. But when that tool can be galvanized, Chris, against you, and that tool can be used to have you to have a schema affliction, I think that tool can be dangerous, Chris. It's almost like a gun. A gun is a tool, but that same gun can be used against you, Chris, when you're in distress and perplexity. Let's look at it from a traditionalist lens, Chris. Say you were a Muslim. Say you were raised to be a Muslim, a Christian, or a Jew, right? And just say if the women in your area are not, you're assuming that they are Muslims and they're living by the laws of the Most High, right? So with a 29% rate of men that are actually virgins, and say those men that are either virgins or really with no women, what's the benefit when
Lagging.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
What would be the benefit, Chris, for that man to get married, in your opinion? What's the benefit? Because it's going to be hard. He's going to be hard pressed unless he finds a woman in his synagogue or church to get a woman that lived up to his dictates or his expectations. What's your take on that?
Well, you just said it. He should find a woman who lives in his synagogue or church. He needs to deal within that community because that's how it's designed. If the brother's Muslim, then he needs to be dealing with Muslim women or women who are under that same faith, or here's that buzzword again, culture. See what I'm saying? The mainstream and majority of us are in a gynocentric thought culture. Okay. Even if you are calling yourself Christian and being Muslim are not the same. Those are two different, ends of the spectrum there as far as religion goes. Obviously, they're not the same religion. But if you're in a position to where you're a Muslim and you want to find you a good Muslim woman, then you need to go and you need to be where Muslim women are. And it depends on if you're talking about being Muslim in this country or Muslim in Arab countries. I'd say if you're Muslim overseas, say you're, over in Kuwait or something like that, or Dubai, then, it's going to be a bit different. The numbers and the statistics are going to change for you. That's a different lane. But as far as being Muslim in this country, I can't say exactly too much on it because I don't know too much about how they roll, but I would assume that, if you want a good Muslim girl, you can go for it. But like, the Big Guy Journey says, the women in the church are influenced by the world. That's exactly right.
No, I totally agree with him. He's correct. See, you're right, Chris. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
I'm just going to finish up and say that
right.
You still listen, because when we start talking religions, we're still talking about cultures within cultures, talking about subcultures. Therefore, if you have Muslim, you have to add in the culture or the subculture, American Muslim. If you're going to deal with that, if you're dealing with Christian, American Christian, you still are not getting over that main influence of where y'all live at. That's going to still be the benefactor. Who are her homegirls? Who are her friends? What does she look up to? What's in her head? You still going to have to deal with that. That's why, once again, especially if you're Muslim, if I was Muslim, I would just go live in a Muslim country. Just
right. Well, you made some very points, because just because a woman is a Muslim, Jew, or Christian, it does not mean that she's going to be Orthodox. A lot of women have been more or less influenced by Western mores, and you're correct, Chris. Unfortunately, many of the churches don't hold women accountable. Women in churches are having sex just like women of the world, and many of them don't even live up to the dictates of what the gospel says. So if a man preserves himself, a young man, he preserves himself for a virtuous woman, and he thinks he's getting a woman that's a virtuous woman or a low body, he can't even get that. And so my whole point is, I'm not against a woman or a man. Do what you want to do. I'm just saying, don't be a falsehood. Be true to who you're trying to represent. And unfortunately, Chris, a lot of times men are getting the representative. They're not getting the real woman. And then the person got to ask themselves the question, if that person believed in that, lived by the mandates of God, and the person they're getting with haven't lived by it, what is the benefit, Chris, of preserving yourself if you can't even get what you waited for? It's no benefit. And that's why I say, can marriage bring peace and inspiration? Under the right circumstances, yes. Am I against marriage? No. Do I believe in marriage? Yes. Do I believe in marriage in these modern times? I don't necessarily believe in it, because it's really no benefit. If you're a traditional patriarchal man, most men won't chase women. Not perfect women, but you got to at least strive to be chaste. When a man, listen, your great-grandma, they have a lot of fun. They were good women, right? but
Facts.
because they have the options that women have now. And so men decide who they marry. You know, a woman can only hope to get married, but men decide who they marry. Another question, Chris, and we're gonna finish looking at this video.
Mhm.
When men come into marriage, we talked about taxation without representation and the mental breaking of the American male. Many men go into relationships expecting sex as a commodity for being married. Many men are in sex relationships, Chris, where some, not all, shout out to the great women that are trying to do the right thing. I love you, ladies. Shout out to the great women because I want to qualify that. But many men go into marriages expecting sex, but they don't even get it, Chris. They get sex as like a control mechanism or a tool. And so a lot of guys are saying, you know, why did I get married? You know, I gave my best years of my life, and I gave, you know, she didn't live up to the contract, and I did. And so a lot of guys are saying, what's the whole purpose? What's the whole purpose? Now listen, before Chris answers that question, we're gonna go through the line again. I want you guys to please share this channel with as many as people as you can. Please donate to $7 Smalls at Cash Out, Cash Out 7 Smalls. As I am a licensed clinical therapist, I'm very busy, but I do love the brotherhood. I do love providing you guys with content because as a therapist, I've seen many men suffer in silence. Some men have committed suicide because of that scheme of affliction, and some men have been conditioned to more or less believe words by men like Keith Sweat, make this last forever. And when they finally opened their eyes, they realized that it was just a mirage. Chris, we're going to talk about the pros, but before we talk about the pros and the cons versus marriage, just friends listen to this clip. Hopefully, the lagging is not there. And once again, guys, please share and more or less donate the Cash Out 7 Smalls, and also hit my PayPal link.
Get the likes up. Get the likes up.
And get the likes up. Thank you, Chris. Get the likes up.
And what I'm willing to risk and put into it. I'm a different man, and I wasn't raised this way. We all have a chance to reinvent ourselves. And that's the last thing I want to say in the Black community, Black men and Black women. We need to stop this shit about telling you can keeping it real. You need to continue to reinvent yourself. You were born flawed, broken, you made mistakes, you had errors. Yes, we can judge those things, but give yourself room to remake. Maybe it won't be for everybody, but it'll be enough. That's why I say this whole high value man thing. Ain't nobody born a high value man. You make yourself one, and then you maintain value. Stop letting your people who don't want anything tell you what you can't be. You have to decide to do it. That's why I leave my F's up, my old videos and everything else. I don't try to act like I'm something that I ain't been. We're building this as we flying it. We're doing it. And if you can see me or somebody else or anybody else that looks like you or anybody else who's breathing, you can do it too. You just have to be willing to do something. Two things that I cannot fix. Coward. I cannot fix coward, and I can't fix lazy. If you're not a coward or if you're not lazy, you got an opportunity. And if you are willing to do the work that starts here. This is why I'm such a proponent of therapy. Do the work. Talk about it. Get it out. Write the letters. Do what the counselors say. Do 12 months of work, and I guarantee you, the rest of your life will look different than the last part of your life. Even if nothing changes in the day-to-day, your mindset, peace and tranquility begin here. That's something I had to learn. I was involved in chaotic relationships because I was chaotic here. I may be able to perform at work, but if I'm chaotic here, it doesn't work. So understand something. I never try to put myself on a pedestal above anybody else. I am as broken and as flawed as anybody else, but we're all trying to become the best versions of ourselves.
All right, Chris, can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if that video is lagging. I don't know what's going on.
It's choppy, but the sound is good. We can all hear it. We can hear it good.
Okay, I apologize, guys, for that. But Chris, what's your take on that quick excerpt based on what the brother's saying?
You speak about like
hold on for a minute. Hold on.
Coaching and mentoring.
Go ahead, brother. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you know, Kev was right in the sense that it does all start with the mind. You know what I'm saying? You know, everything does revolve around mentalism. You know what I mean? You need to be understanding who you are. You need to understand what direction, what path. Once again, this goes into knowing thyself, and this also gets into knowing your purpose, direction, and passion. You know what I mean? Those are my pillars: purpose, direction, and passion. You know what I'm saying? Of oneself. You know what I'm saying? Knowing thyself, knowing who you are. You know, that's my type of thing. So for me, he's right on that note. He's dead on with saying that you need to be of one mind first. He said he had chaotic relationships because he was chaotic internally. That's law of attraction right there. See that he's speaking to it directly. He's saying exactly what it is that you can't expect to have a separate outcome versus what you're attracting. And if you don't know what you're attracting, you're in a world of chaos because you don't understand yourself. That's your core issue right there. So he's exactly right in that regard. Um, you know, you want to get yourself right, you want to get yourself fixed. You know what I'm saying? And like he said, he's throwing people to you. He says, "Hey, y'all need to get therapy." There you go. He's throwing customers right to you.
Well, and that's why I do what I do, man, as a clinical therapist, because a lot of people need to get therapy, the men and the women. A lot of the women have been traumatized from bad relationships, but a lot of men have been traumatized, Chris, from the perception or the assumption that they're going to get the same things that their mothers, they got from their mothers or their grandmothers, their great grandmothers. I think men come into relationships assuming that they're going to get the same outcomes. And Chris, when that blood bomb finally hits, the Gap Band make a song called "You Dropped the Bomb on Me, Baby." You dropped the bomb on me. So when that bomb finally gets dropped on their head, Chris, it's really no point of return. They struggle, Chris, because when they really find out what really is, that red pill awakening, Chris, it can be very deleterious to a man's psyche, which in essence, Chris, puts some men at the brink of suicide. Hold on, let's listen to MTR real quick. Hold on. Hold tight. All right, so Chris, while this link is percolating, we're going to talk about the pros versus the cons of marriage. So let's look at it from the biological, Chris. The assumption, Chris, if you're in a good marriage, is that you can get frequent sex in theory and reduce the risk of STDs. If she's a traditional woman, Chris, she may bring some domestic skills and the ability to serve. We call that a psychosomatic response. And then also, Chris, if you get the benefits of the pros of marriage is that you get a healthy relationship, which sex can be good for the immune system. What's your take on that, Chris, as it relates to the pros biologically as it relates to marriage? What's your take on that?
You said that these are men's generally are expectations as
Right.
far as going into it. And I'll say that men are foolish in that regard.
Mhm.
The majority of us are foolish for holding on to that concept of thinking that that's what it really is. I'm gonna tell you from her firsthand experience, it's not. It's not like that. I mean, it could be something to look forward to, but I would say don't try to make that the main focal point of what you're trying to get into, because you're putting a lot of faith in another person. You're putting a lot of faith in another person in that regard. And me, I advocate that's something that you should not do. That's dangerous. That's very dangerous.
Right. Right.
Um, because it depends on how much this man. Now he could come into it with those expectations, but how important are those expectations to that man? Because if he makes it sound like that's his world, he's finally married, and he's giddy, like he's just as giddy as she is, jumping up and down about the wedding day. You know what I mean? And if he, like the young lady, she's excited about the wedding. The man is more focused and thinking about the marriage. See, that's the two odds that are at play right there. Because after the wedding and we start to walk down this road of being married now, it's just kind of like reality sets in.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, when if it gets there and you start to see this other shoe drop to where it seems like, oh, she's not happy. I thought we were going to be doing this all the time and that all the time. And that's not what it is. To a man who had these high expectations, once again, it can be very detrimental to his psyche.
Well, listen, shout out to my man, Ryan James. Thank you, brother. Love you for your support. Thank you guys for supporting the content. And listen, guys, please donate to Cash Out $7 Smalls. Once again, guys, I am a licensed therapist. These shows are very time consuming, but I love what I do. I love to empower young men, especially middle-aged men and older men, on the dangers of modern relationships and all the proper safeguards they must take. So if you really enjoy what I'm doing, please donate. I haven't got a Cash App yet. I'll be getting, what do you call it? I'll be getting super chats at some point. I got to more or less do the monetization. But guys, if you like what I'm doing, please donate to Cash App Seven Smalls if you like the content. And once again, guys, I love you guys. I want to see you guys grow. And I really appreciate you guys listening to my content. The content will get better. Also, I like bringing on good young brothers like my man Chris Strongheart. He created the shirt, "The Fat Meat is Greasy" for me. And if you want to get some shirts created, go check that brother out. We got shirts that we're going to more distributing soon because a lot of men, Chris Strongheart, don't believe that the fat meat is greasy. Now, Chris, let's look at the social implications of marriage. Let's look at it from the pro perspective because the title is "Can Marriage Bring Peace and Inspiration?" So let's look at the social aspect. Marriages can increase wealth. Marriage is good for communities. What's your take on that? And is the Black community finished?
I'd have to say, that's a bunch of different questions. All right, so let's take it from the top. A marriage can increase wealth. It can. I guess, depending on what your line of wealth is. If y'all are in some partnership or whatever business on YouTube, I guess. But I mean, are we still walking this road of equals? Are we walking this road of she needs to make as much as I do, or like how exactly is that being lined? Because wealth, yeah, I mean, wealth could come in so many different aspects as far as you can be more wealthy with marriage. I'd have to get into the details of exactly how. Yeah, I would have to take a rain check on that and just say that, because think about it like this: when you're single, everything you make is basically going to you. So right there, you're pretty much already going to be making more technically. If you're all making money together, yeah, that's cool. But I mean, is what's the dynamic of y'all's relationship? I mean, is she making more than you, or is that the case? Is she strong and independent, and is she doing her thing as well? Because to me, when you start to walk that road, I start to think, so then what's your position in the house? Because if that's the case, what's to stop her from saying, well, what I need him for?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So to me, that's where I kind of walked that like, that could be a little, I don't know. And then as far as good for, what'd you say? You said good for the community? Is that what you said?
Well, it can be good for the community if you have wholesome communities. You're right. That's a pro.
Good for the community. Okay, good for the community. What community? I would have to say that. I'd have to say that. What community, man? We're not. It's not like it used to be. I don't see us as this. The community isn't necessarily as what it used to be. So, good for the community. In what regard? I'd have to. Once again, I'm just looking at it like how, how in what ways is this good for the community? I mean, I could say definitely having a father in the home and all that stuff. Of course, you want to have that where you can have a stable household and all those things. That's great. I do agree to that, but I don't see that as the issue with our community. But I guess so. In that regard, I guess so. You could work with that. Obviously, we do need to build more. I say that we need to build our community, period, and work on it from that aspect. And I think leading into your final question, which was, is the community essentially dying? Well, I say it most certainly is in that context. It's our community is not a strong one, and we definitely have work to do because the culture is not in a good place right now because of the results that we're getting from the culture and what is breeding. Like I said, this whole perception and notion of thought culture, hot girl summer, and all this other stuff like that, it comes from us. You know what I mean? We promote it. So
we do promote it to some degree, but at the same time, I think the women are not holding these women accountable as well. Let's look at the psychological aspects of marriage, Chris. Marriage calibrates the mind and can lead a man to greatness. I said a song. I talked about Teddy Pendergrass in the past, and Teddy Pendergrass talked about the Mona Lisa, and he said, "You inspire me." And so a lot of men come into relationships, Chris, expecting inspiration from their woman, but they're not getting inspiration. They're getting a damn headache because there's an old saying, Chris, that says a quarrelsome and contentious woman will run a man to the rooftop. And then also, Chris, psychologically, a woman's supposed to be a man's cheerleader, or she's supposed to be what my man Aguapo say, a amplifier, a feminine amplifier for the man. She's supposed to amplify his masculinity. And shout out to him. But unfortunately, women are not amplifying a man's masculinity. She's actually causing his testosterone levels to decrease because she's cantankerous, combative, and masculine. What's your take on that briefly?
Oh, you're most certainly right. That they are most definitely, masculine and combative. I mean, like I said, everything that you just listed was expectations. Okay, we have to start focusing on the reality of what it really is. Okay, and what's really going on. You can come into this expecting all kind of different things, but what's really happening out in the community and society does not say that what your expectations are based off of some old 1950 programming is what's really going on out here in the streets, because it's not. The divorce rates are high. People are not staying married more than 10 years. I mean, it's not like it used to be. It's not that way. It's not like it used to be.
No, I totally agree. It's definitely not because they're not wife ready, and that's what people don't understand. Men set the standards for marriage and relationship. Men set the standards. The man is the purchaser. The woman is the seller. But the man got to ask her the question, what are you selling? And you're correct, Chris. You can never vet 100%. But in my mind, Chris, men have very low standards, especially black men. Black men's standards are very low.
Yep.
We'll accept anything. Unlike our white counterparts and other men of other societies, we just accept anything. We'll accept bad attitudes. We'll accept promiscuity. We'll accept kids by multiple men. We'll accept deception. We'll accept anything. And what men don't understand, Chris, when they accept those things, they're more or less teaching that woman how to treat them. So the next stage, Chris, is that psychologically it calibrates his mind, but then also spiritually, women that are more or less in alignment with their husband also can help pray for that man. We know that favor is important for a lot of men. Women that are in alignment with their husband actually many times pray for their man. He that finds a wife finds a good thing. But it goes back to what we said earlier, Chris. Most women are not wife ready. They have not been taught how to be wives. Women years ago, when they came into marriages, Chris, they were already wife ready, wife trained. They were trained to serve their husbands as their husbands, Chris, turned around and served them. Service is mutual, but her first responsibility, like Kevin said, I agree with him on this, service and duty. But a lot of women don't come into marriages with the mindset of service and duty. They think traditional things like cooking and cleaning makes her a slave, but she still expects him to be a traditional man. And because of that, I would say that modern marriages do not bring peace and inspiration. I would say that modern marriages actually bring pain. What's your take on that, brother?
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. Modern marriages definitely bring pain. I mean, like I said, this kind of walks down that road of looking to or expecting to find a virtuous woman. They don't really. I mean, you can have fun, go out in there trying to find that nowadays, and if you want to believe it, if girls, or if you want to be out here as a young man believing that that's how women are operating like that, you can try to assume that if you want, but you're gonna get yourself hurt out here in the streets, because that's just not what it is. They're not moving like that right now.
Right.
They're not raised up that way. They're not really pushed to be like that. I mean, it's just not out there. It's not like that. It's not out there like that right now. It's really not.
I totally agree. I agree 100%. All right, let's finish this in this video. We're going to
men of what to tolerate from women, submissive women and things like that. But to what end?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
Like, to what end, as far as like, isn't there an end goal? We talk about women not having high body counts to usually get to the goal of marriage, or someone or a man taking you seriously, right? So if women are trying to get to the goal of marriage and telling men, it don't really benefit you. It's kind of like, you know, what's the point of us even watching the content or being involved or trying to change or whatever if
Do,
you're
do
not looking.
you you must have missed a couple of conversations before. Because what I keep telling people is that marriage is a tool. You just have to understand the pros, the cons, the impacts, and the risk of said tool. You have to have an exit strategy. You have to have an exit plan. That's why I feel like so many suckers go into this shit, breadwinners, but not getting prenups because of love, which is complete and utter bullshit.
Right.
No,
Because
I
love
would,
is an emotion.
It's an emotion.
yeah, I have to agree with
Because
that.
love is an emotion. So
Right.
so I'm losing sight on what is the actual disagreement. So do you disagree that me telling men about the pros, the cons, the impacts, and the exit strategies? Are you saying I should not be doing that, or go over the facts, the data, the
Well,
numbers, the statistics, and
is
just
it just
blindly
not
lead men
is,
down?
is it just not beneficial to you, or is it not beneficial in
Well,
general?
well, 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 well tell
Because
me,
what would make it
how does marriage benefit a man?
how does it not? If you're saying that it does
Oh,
not,
well, no, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do
okay.
that.
So if we okay.
Wait, wait,
So
wait, wait, wait. Just real quick, because we're having okay, you came up here. I'm gonna recap the situation just to make sure that you're clear as well the people that's down in here. You
right,
said that you disagree with my position on marriage. I began to tell you that I think that it's a
right,
tool, and that the only benefit that I can see is that if a man wants it, then it can be a benefit. Just like if I want ice cream, it's not a benefit until I want it. Then it
right.
benefits me because I actually want it. Okay.
Well, I think marriage is
Now, hold on. Now, what I talked about is, I talk about the pros, the cons, the impacts of it, as well as what can happen, right? The reality of marriage, okay? And then you said, well, why are you just not talking about the benefit? And then I said, well, what's the benefits? What are not the benefits?
right.
So that's where we started the intellectual dishonesty. It was
Yeah.
right there.
What do you have to consider? Emotional intelligence, emotional stability. Does she have too much consumer debt? She gonna
Coach
spend all
Greg
your
Adams.
money? Because some of you guys look for shortcuts. We're gonna talk about that in a second. I'm gonna just make some money and she gonna be with me. Dr. Dre, Jeff Bezos. How's that money working out for him? It ain't working out. They had to split with it, right? Okay. Does she spend all your money? Does she gonna lose? She had too many sexual partners? She in student loan debt? 70% of the student loan debt is owned by women. How did that happen? 100% of the time. Okay, 98.9% of the time. She's always gonna be the victim no matter what you do. You start yelling at her, you do whatever you need to do. She's gonna be the victim. Just know that. She's always gonna come out of your marriage or relationship smelling like roses. You, not so. Just know that. And knowing's not enough. You have to accept it, right? What about this? The government. You want to get married. Where's my guys that said they want to get married? You know who you're marrying? The government. Not marrying her. You're going to marry the state. And they're going to give you a piece of paper, a marriage license, with a whole bunch of family law codes you're not going to be introduced to until she's ready to introduce them to you. And then you'll learn them. Holy moly. I didn't think I was going to have to do all of that. Yep. That's what you just agreed to. But you got a piece of paper, right? You're going to be introduced to people walking around with the itchy scratchy, as I call it on my show. 25% of women walking around with boils in between their legs. Okay? That's a statistic. Okay? For you cold approach gamers. Okay? Pregnancy. What if I knock her up? All it takes is one to get loose, slip up. All it takes is one, and she got 18 years of your child support money. And the ability to move that kid all across the damn county, all across the damn state. You agreed to that when you lie down to her. You remember? That's the shark. And then marriage, of course, with the statistics so ridiculous. This is what I talk about here on my channel, okay? I also talk about this, and it's a little bit blurry. This is patterns of human behavior. I know a lot of divorced people. I know a lot of married people. I know a lot of unhappily married people. We talk about the divorce rate, 60%. What about the people that are stuck together? They don't want to leave. They can't afford a divorce. They can't get divorced because of religion. They too old to get divorced, all right? There's a whole bunch of things that are happening here. So I created this marriage wheel and said, this is what's going to happen in your marriage, okay? From step 1 to step 0, okay? Right to the end. You're going to connect with her. Y'all going to be all lovey-dovey. Oh, that's my baby. That's my boo. Then eventually, you'll say, let's stay together forever. And it'll be great. Listen, if you can find this and do it, more power to you. Okay, but in today's world, it's going to be difficult. Then I'll tell you, eventually you're going to have to invest in this. She's going to want a house. It's going to be the car, kids. A lot of things are going to come along from it. You're going to spend money. While you're doing this, she's good. She's buying time right now. Okay? She's like, oh, he's investing in this. I'm going to just sit this out. Okay? I'm going to do whatever you need to do. By the time you've got fully invested, you get to the stage of what I call the bait and switch. At that particular point, once you're invested, she can do whatever the hell she want to do. Well, whatever you said I was supposed to be doing, I don't want to do it no more. Now, you can't go to your family court office and say, you know what? She's not doing any more monkey double backflips on me anymore. Can you make her give me sex? Nope.
Nope.
She's spending all my money. Can you make her stop spending all my? Nope. Okay, you have no authority. She can change her mind and change your world. Now, how many times is this happening in the country? Over and over and over again. How many people have been to the family courthouse? Like the building, in the courtroom, okay? See, a lot of you guys, only 3 people raised their hand, by the way. A lot of you guys haven't even seen what people look like when they used to love each other. These people loved each other. And now they're dragging them through hell. See, if you haven't seen it, you don't understand anything I'm talking about. This is why I wrote the books. We'll get to that. Okay? After the bait and switch, she's going to disengage from you. How many times is this happening? A lot. Over and over again, every day, and you don't even hear about it. The only time you guys hear about it is when Dr. Dre gets divorce rate. That's the only time you guys are paying attention. Oh, man, sucks to be him. That's how men deal with it. It'll never happen to me, though. That's what I thought, too. Okay? And then they have all of these reinforcements to make you cooperate. Family court, child support system, the family counseling, alimony, you lose your kid. They have all of these systems in place for them to make you. And listen, I'm not saying that they're wrong for it. What I'm saying is the systems are in place already, hedging their bets against your failure. It's almost guaranteed. It's almost guaranteed. Okay? Now, say, for instance, you say, well, baby, don't take me to child support court. What have you now done? You've now bended your knee to her. She's in control. She has authority now. Now, you didn't get divorced. You didn't become a statistic, but now she has authority. You're done. You can never recover from that. That's the future of the modern relationship, okay? So you can have some choices, and some people say, I'll try again. Maybe it was just her. Yeah, it was her. She was the one acting up. You never take accountability for your lack of leadership. You never step up as a man. So you go out there and you try again. Remember I said 70%, 80% the next time you do it, okay? So the reality is this, man.
And here's the issue, Chris. Here's the issue, Chris. Divorces the second go around are actually higher than the first go around, Chris. They're actually higher every time you get married. Each successive times, things get worse and worse. And so I wanted to break it down from what I call the hapless romantic. Kevin makes some good points, but then the millennial like you and MTR, but then also like the Gen Xer like me and Coach Greg Adams. And I think men should have all 3 perspectives from an older generation, a Gen X, a millennial, and also a Gen Xer that don't necessarily believe in the benefits of marriage, because unfortunately, men are not getting what their grandfathers and great-grandfathers got years ago. They're getting women that have been traumatized from bad relationships. They're getting women that have more or less had kids by multiple men. And the truth is, you'll really never know who the woman is that you are married to. You don't know who she really is because she's going to only show you the representative. Let's talk about the cons, because it sounds like many of the guys in the group, and I want to thank the guys that donated to the cash out, Mr. Ryan, Tremaine, and Mr. Rector. Thank you, guys. I love you, brothers. Thank you. And I promise you, I'm going to continue to bring good quality content for the brotherhood. I got my young crab up here, Chris, chopping up some comprehensive game. I love his consciousness. And I promise you guys, I will continue to deliver great content. I'm real grateful. And to the guys that haven't donated, please get the likes up, please. please share this video to as many people as you can. And if you have not donated, please donate to $7 Smalls. I'll put the link back in. Thank you to the guys who have donated. And like I said, the reason why we have these discussions, hit the Cash App link. And the reason why we have these discussions, because these discussions are not only timely, but they are very important. So, Chris, we're going to talk about the cons biologically of getting married. And we're going to talk about sometimes it can cause mental and physical illness. Many men, Chris, are in sexist relationships. And a man gets his respect through sex. What's your take on that, Chris? And did you have any struggles with that in your prior relationship? And only share what you feel comfortable sharing, Chris. Share only what you feel comfortable sharing, please.
Well, I mean, it was, it wasn't yes and no. I mean, it had its ups and downs. As far as my marriage goes, that honestly wasn't really one of the major issues necessarily. But I definitely do see, men having to deal with that in modern marriages today as well. I mean, it's tough. I can't exactly drop the full answer on exactly why they feel, or the lady, young lady decides she's not really going to put out as much. I mean, it's tough. That's one of those things that they have to work out in between each other. Like I said, I'm not the one to really come to about how to stick and stay in the marriage, because I know what advice I'm gonna give you. So for me, it's just kind of like, hey, bro, I think me and you both understood the risk that you wanted to take, and you listened to people who told you, oh, just jump in, don't worry about it. Like, I mean, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. You just want to get involved, you just want to jump into something, okay, by all means, go ahead. But that's a side effect of what can happen. Not that it will happen, but if the young lady that you're married to feels like she's just going through this stretch of not feeling herself, or she feels as though she doesn't feel what she'll say doesn't feel sexy, whatever it might be, if that's how she's feeling, then like Coach Greg Adams just said, like, she's in a power position right now. You know what I mean? Like, she has assumed authority. Um, those are the type of things that happen in those relationships. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really have any bargaining power in that situation. It's not really much you can do. Uh, because everything is in her favor if it comes down to her leaving you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or if you want the divorce, well, still gonna be in her favor. So the thing is, it's just kind of like there's still not any advantages for men to rush or run into these marriages, relationships nowadays.
Right. It really is no benefit. And Chris, that's why we talk about the passport game. That's why we talk about black man options. Shout out to black man options. That's why we talk about
Yeah.
men more or less exploring their options outside the contextual framework of America. And that's why I'm an advocate for young single men, especially some of these younger brothers that haven't traveled to get your passport. Understand that women are going to be women. Like I said, you can either love a woman or you can understand her, but you can't do both. If you understand a woman, you'll see her for what she is, and you don't really take it serious how she responds. You just got to learn how to adapt. But if you fall in love, then you will be blinded to your own peril as a man. And so that's why I tell men to understand women, but you can't do both. But Chris, you said something that was you're correct. A lot of times it's the old bait and switch with a lot of women in relationships. And to the guys that are listening, if you've been impacted by modern marriage, I want you to pop in for a few seconds and join the conversation, because I have to go see clients soon. But I want you to pop in and join the conversation, because these conversations are important. And once again, thank you to the guys that have donated to the Cash App, and guys that haven't donated, please donate. $Cash App 7 Smalls, hit the link. But if you don't have any money to share, please share the content and then share this with many men as possible. And if you haven't seen my show, go look at the show called Taxation Without Representation and the Mental Breaking of the American Male. But a lot of times, Chris, a lot of men, we don't talk about this, Chris, a lot of men are at risk for domestic violence once they get married. Most domestic violence episodes are initiated by the wives. They're at risk of losing their careers. They're at risk of being financially broken. And then also, Chris, they're at risk of losing their status in the communities. Ron James said Will Smith. Good job, Ryan. Will Smith, Johnny Depp, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Bezos. They were all divorced borderline, and they were all high value men. And so you see, even the top tier men have to deal with. And I guess I get the argument. The argument is they got money to learn how to deal with it. But then look at Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was traumatized by this divorce. That's a good point, Ron James. Johnny Depp was more or less traumatized by this divorce, and he was a high value man.
Yep.
And so even high value men are dealing with the ramifications of dating modern women. And like I said, I do believe in proper vetting, but you can never vet 100%. You can never vet 100%. There's no such thing as 100% vetting. I would say start with a traditional patriarchal culture where the woman was trained and she's more or less living up to the mandates of her orthodoxy as it relates to faith. But once again, it's still not 100%. It's not. And so you got to take the proper safeguards. But I would say, man, it's looking like more men are against it. And then we talked about sexless marriages. Many men on this panel are in sexless marriages or have been in sexless marriages. But yet the man, Chris, is still doing his traditional role of being a provider and a protector. And I would say, Chris, if a man is doing his job as a provider and protector, if that woman is not taking care of him, she's causing him psychological and biological trauma. Because a lot of men, Chris, if they're not getting their needs met sexually, they can be tempted to get it from outside the relationship, or they just suffer in silence biologically. What's your take on that?
I think that's very true. I think that's it's very real. You know what I mean? Like men out here, especially younger men, who had, relationships before their marriages to where the exes are still hitting them up, or, like these guys are having to deal with the ramifications of their wives flipping out on them. You know what I mean? Just like, this ain't the person I met. This ain't the person I married. And, they remember a time when they had better relationships. So it can be hard and challenging for especially young men who are now in a position of just like, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I've talked to my homeboys. They call me. They talk to me about their situations. I've had to sit down and basically speak some therapy to them. You know what I mean? Try to talk my boys through hard times. I've had to do that myself. Like I'm usually the go-to very often for issues that may happen with my bros when they're going through relationship problems. But to be completely honest, man, it's just like it's tough, man, because you when you go into a marriage, when you go into situations like that, you got to know that the cards are not dealt in your favor. Like Coach Greg Adams said, like TJ said, you marrying the state. You know what I mean? You marrying the state. You may not realize how much the state is involved until that woman divorces you and you see everything that you got to go through. Like you mentioned, Johnny Depp dealing with Amber Heard. Like at first, she was making up all this stuff against him, and then the tape recordings came out, and then it got real bad. That's why they kicked her off of Aquaman too. But Johnny Depp, I think he also lost his position, with Disney. I think I believe they kicked him off the next Pirates of the Caribbean that they was gonna do.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword, man. Like I said, what's the benefit? What as a young man or as men in general, what are you really getting out of that? You know what I'm saying? What do you have to really look forward to? I mean, I understand pie in the sky, but let's deal with reality. I would say that you really shouldn't be taking that risk until you have lived, you have made your money, and then if you want to get in a position to where you just feel like I want to give it a shot, just want to try it, I guess, man, have at it. But honestly, it honestly is going to come down to the person, that young man. What are his intentions, or what is his outcome? What are his goals?
Right.
You know what I mean? In dealing with the marriage. What are you trying to get to as far as getting the marriage? Because if you feel like you need her, if you feel like you need a woman, that's all bad. Because she's about to get in there and run your life.
Right.
That's exactly what she's doing. You a mark, you a sucker.
Right.
That's what she's looking for.
No, that's true. You know, Chris, Tina Turner made a song back in the past called "What Love Got to Do with It." And I think men should come into relationships not looking at it through the lens of love. A lot of men, Chris, don't understand that the art of romanticism is something new. It's probably like a 200-year-old age concept. Most men that get marriage based on love, they didn't have what's called the Keith Sweat concept, make this last forever.
Mhm.
They just saw marriage as a business. And so I think if most men would be more pragmatic and practical in getting married now, they won't be so heartbroken because men are very dangerous, Chris, when they're are going through divorce, especially if they're cancer. Because y'all got the highest homicide rate. But
Yeah,
but I've always said,
baby.
Chris, that a broken man is a hopeless man, Chris, and a hopeless man, Chris, is a dangerous man. And so when men are broken because of that schema affliction, because they have a red pill awakening, they are dangerous. And see, I don't think guys, Chris, understand what they're getting from these conversations. You are getting a licensed clinical therapist is giving you guys some good comprehensive game. And like I said, Kevin realizes that therapy is very important, but also to the millennials, you're getting a millennial and Chris Strongheart that's been through it himself. And he have now talked in private about how his marriage impacted him and how things changed a lot. And Chris, one of the things we want to talk about is paternity fraud. That's a con to getting married.
Woo.
And you're not getting women that are chaste. You're not getting a chaste woman like women
No.
of old. You're not getting a chaste woman.
Nah.
Paternity fraud and the lack of being chaste, Chris, has caused a lot of men to be in a state of peril or what I call that schema affliction.
Mhm.
And so many men, Chris, are in relationships. They think the kid is theirs, but it's not theirs. And if you're in some states, Chris, you're on the hook for that child, even though it's not your child.
Yeah.
Once you marry that woman. My dear friend Carnell Smith from the paternity coach talked about how some married men got caught up on the hook. What's your take on mandatory, Chris, paternity test for women? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I definitely feel like you need to get the test. You need to get the DNA test. If a young lady is trying to say that you got her pregnant, I recommend that. Definitely do that because you don't want to be a part of maternity fraud. You don't want to walk that road. You don't want to actually draw an attachment to that child, thinking it's yours, just to find out that's not the case, or she's trying to put a child on you to get child support out of you. Like, that's a very dangerous game, especially if that man turns around to come to find out that that ain't his kid. Oh man, yo, with men, it's sad that I don't think women understand that some men, when you do certain things to them, they don't care about jail. It's not
Right,
about jail anymore.
right,
It's about
right,
you, woman, have outright completely disrespected me
right.
in not only in private but in public.
Mhm.
And some men will look for bloodshed.
Right, right,
That because you got to understand, like, you have literally drawn the lines of war. Some women don't understand the consequences of their transgressions. You have drawn the line of war now in regards to how you are moving. Some men don't have any restraint and will deal with you accordingly.
mhm,
That is not something I'm advocating. That is only me stating a relative fact on how
right.
some men will perceive reality
No, right,
when they have been
right,
crossed by a woman.
right.
Do I need to mention again about how we had a young lady who just got murdered out in Houston? I want to say about now a week ago. Okay, so it's real out here in these streets, and when you want to sit here and act like you want to act like men, some men will deal with you like men when you cross certain lines.
Right.
And that's sad to say, but this is a nature of our reality. And it should not be overlooked and act like, oh, men would never do that. Hun, you need to slow it down and stop acting like some men won't outright draw back on you with the backhand. I mean, it will happen.
Right.
Don't out here get like, oh, he won't do that or he'll go to jail. Some men don't care. Some men don't care. And if he knows he going to jail, it might be even worse, hun. Y'all need to stop. Okay? I mean, you've been so built up and blowed up in your head about this, we're equal to men and this and that. Honey, you're not stronger than a man.
Right.
Relax.
Right.
Stop it. You know what I mean? Like, it's sad to say that we have to, redraw the idea of, okay, this is man, this is woman, ladies, play nice, don't do this, okay? Like, you know what I'm saying? Men, hold your masculine frame, stay masculine. You know what I mean? Do what you got to do as men. Don't pedestalize her. She's gonna use you. She's built to use you. She's looking for shelter because men and women see, because we get on this thing about love. Men and women don't love the same.
They don't
Okay,
love the same, right?
the same the because even the whole dating strategies, it's not the same. Okay, it's not the same. All right, men are looking for guys who can offer them shelter, who can offer them um, finances and stuff like that, right? So as a man, you need to be on your purpose. You need to be in a position of power. You need to be on your grind. You need to be getting your money right. You need to be out there on your A1, as they'll say, right?
Right,
That's where
right,
you need to be, because you're not gonna acquire all these women that you think you may have in life by chasing them. By making them a priority, you push them away because that's not what they're looking for. And in their nature, naturally, they're looking for men who can be a leader. Okay. But what kind of leader are you if all you do is chase women all day and that's your priority is just chase women?
right, right.
Okay. Like you don't have any ambition about you, you don't have any get up about you, you don't even know who and what you want to be in life.
Right.
Therefore, they'll still perceive you, they'll perceive you as a child, because a man who's doing that is looking for a mother at that point. That's why a lot of these women will leave these men talking about oh, I left him because I felt like I was his mom. That man was not on his purpose. Y'all, both of y'all wrong, because you brought him in, because you brought him in and he wasn't on his grind. You knew he wasn't on his grind, but you said, oh, I can change him. No, hun, you should have not got with him in the first place. You should have let that rock. You know what I mean? That's, that both of y'all are, can hold that L in that regard. And a lot of times that does shape the outline of our culture and community. A lot of those issues, you know what I'm saying? But
Well, listen, I think it's important that men are having these conversations. That's why I put so much work in this content. That's why I bring young millennials on like you and older brothers to have these conversations, because the barbershop has been decimated. It's been infiltrated, unfortunately, by single mothers. And, men are social creatures. Human beings are social creatures. And men suffer in isolation instead of coming together. And so, I know what it feels like. I know a lot of men know what it feels like to suffer in silence due to brokenness and pain, because they got in relationships based on what they thought was right versus in seeing relationships for what they are. And I believe that when a man is around a feminine woman, it can be very powerful. So one of the cons also, Chris, when I come to mind of getting married, would be also, like I said, you're not getting a chase woman, like MTR said and Greg Adams said, and even Kevin Samuels talked about it. Not all, but some come in with a high body count, and high is subjective.
high is subjective.
We don't know what that means. For some men, five is too many. For some men, 25 is too many. For some men, 10 is too many. It just depends on the man. And so when men get married, men by nature are very territorial. So that's one of the cons to get married. Like you talked about, Chris, going back to exes, calling exes, checking in on exes. You got to deal with all the baggage from her past, because a lot of times women lie when they get into a relationship. They hide stuff. And then so when once the man get in there, he's trapped because he got married based on a lie. Another thing, Chris, is emasculated or lack of respect. Never enough. Happy wife, happy life. Those are some of the cons. How many men, Chris, do you see to have that scheme of affliction due to brokenness, and they won't even come in the house because they're broken based on the pain associated with their wives? They won't even come in the house, Chris, because they want to hear her big mouth, or they feel like it's never enough. I'll talk with countless men, Chris, in practice or in therapy that say they work hard, they gave their wives the best, but it was never enough. He worked sometimes 10, 15, 20 hours, but it's never enough. And so a lot of these men are just tools to be galvanized. A lot of these men, Chris, are just tools to be broken. And so because of that, a lot of guys are saying, it's no benefit of getting married, because what am I getting in return? I'm not getting a chase woman. 9 times out of 10, with most modern women, you're getting a woman that got kids by multiple men. And then on top of that, cooking makes them a slave. So what benefit is for a man to get married? Can modern marriages bring peace and inspiration. And based on these comments by these esteemed brothers, I would say no, unless he get with a woman that's been traditionally raised to be a wife. What's
Facts.
your take on that? What's your take on
So
that,
you're
brother?
exactly right on that. To answer the question directly, can you find peace and happiness from modern marriages? I say no. I say you'll find the exact opposite. I say you'll find destruction and chaos for the most part, especially because these young ladies out here are not raised to be wives. You know what I mean? So um, I don't. No, 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 no. As far as rushing in and getting in these marriages right now, expecting peace and happiness and joy and all this, no, I'd say no. I'd say that you better have a strong intention as to why you're getting married. I mean, are you trying to do it for what? Y'all, both of y'all families are rich and you want to keep the bloodline going or something like that. In that case, I would say maybe, but I say for the most part, most of us don't roll in those circles. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? If I'm not mistaken, I heard Kevin Samuels even talk about how at one point marriage was only for the hierarchy anyway. The commoners
Right.
didn't really have marriage ceremonies, whatever. They just hitched up together and they just stayed together. Marriage was more or less was for the empires or was for the royals so that they could continue the bloodlines so that they could stop wars and stuff like that. That's what it was really designed for, and things of that nature. But when the commoners felt like they wanted to start, having the third party involved in their marriage situations, okay, go have at it. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what you want to do. I mean, like I said, I don't see any major gains
Right.
into getting married. I'll say that what you could gain from getting married at a young age is gaining the knowledge of getting married so you can tell younger brothers beyond you or behind you that after you've gotten divorced, so you can tell them not to do it. How about that? That's the advantage. You have knowledge now on what not to do because
Right.
you,
Right.
you took a L.
Right. And that's why we're having these conversations. Chris, you went through it. Coach Greg Adams, he went through it. And once you understand female psychology and female nature, you got to understand that women mostly, they're hardwired to serve themselves. They're inward. That's why men and women don't love the same.
Don't love the
Men
same.
love based on um, honor, respect, and loyalty. Women love on feelings. That's why they push feelings. But I've had conversations with women, Chris, and I tested them. I said, would you marry a man? Could you love a man if he lost his job? Or would you love a man if he became impotent? Or could you love a man if he can provide like you used to? And most of them can't. See, listen, guys, you'll know if a woman really loves you if she can love you outside of her feelings. If she can love you when she does not feel like loving you, that's really love for you because that's honor, respect, and duty to a man. When she can calibrate her feelings to serve you as a man, honor, obey, and respect and duty, then that's love. But most women have not been conditioned to honor, obey, and respect a man. The word obey, like in vows in the past, it said, "Will you do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband to honor and obey?" And you got women now that feel like if you tell them something, you're not my daddy, but you call yourself a Christian. I call it like Kevin Samuels called it the Christian feminist. I call it the de facto Christian or Christian a la carte because you think you're getting a woman that more or less live based on the tenets of the gospel, but she doesn't because the modern preacher doesn't hold her accountable. That's why men are born in churches. But God talks about a hierarchy: God, Christ, man, woman, and children. But when it comes down to those mandates, a lot of women, they abort that. They don't want to hear that because they want the parts of the Bible that make them feel good, not the parts of the Bible that makes them want to do the right thing. And so blind guy, his wife, their life, he's correct. Women have societal influence to think it's their baby and all by themselves are leveraged for different reasons. Child support manipulation. And he's correct. Chris, let's talk about that. And you can share what you want to share, but I think you've experienced some of that. Let's talk about that.
Oh well, I mean, in society, it is a problem. I mean, as far as I go with my child support situation, it's whatever. It's cool. It ain't like a major problem. I can't necessarily she drug me through the mud. I fulfill my obligation. That's basically as far as that goes. Um, like I said, between me and her, it was on a whole bunch of other stuff as to why it was. the end result is the way it was. It's one of them things where I'm over it, obviously, but it's dead and done, and I can live to tell the story of how to tell young brothers on how to move, and speak to them with child support, and say that child support is going to be a reality of you either getting this girl pregnant before y'all get married, or y'all go through a marriage, have kids, and y'all get divorced. Child support is going to be there either way. Um, who's to say what type of woman she is when y'all divorce? I mean, that's really when her true colors come out. As you can
That's
see who
true.
she is when she divorced, when y'all get divorced.
Right.
Because like you were
Right.
talking about how men and women love differently. Women usually love on condition. It's conditional love.
Right. It's conditional love.
It's
Right.
conditional love with women. Okay. It's more or less about what you got. Generally, they'll say, "Oh, but his personality." Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Because you already know that if he has enough money, things change. Right?
Mhm.
That's we already know. We know that. We know that that's what it is. That's why the high value man is such a thing, because if you doubt that statement, then go watch Kevin Samuel's show and look at his whole catalog of almost every woman who's ever called his show, and severely outlines the type of man she's looking for. They're expecting him to have six figures, at least 300,000, 200,000. She wants to live this life, because most of these young ladies are chasing a fantasy and a lifestyle.
Right.
None of them has ever, I can't even think of too many of them who've ever said, "Kev, I want to get on. I want to marry a man because I want to follow a man's authority. I want to follow a man's authority, Kev. I want to do what he tells me to do, Kev." I can't even think of any caller who's ever jumped in and said anything like that. You
Right.
know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I mean, it is very, like, to me, superficial, and very conditional as far as how women love. Generally, that's why the market to be a high value man seems to be such a high mark. But still, she may not even respect you. That just makes you more of a target to where she can be more comfortable. you know but still, I mean, we've seen celebrities, because to me, in my opinion, if it was all about just having enough money and then you're safe, then we would never hear any issues with celebrities. We would never hear celebrities having issues with getting divorced, girl problems, none of that. Because she got the bag, she got the money, they won, they're married, they're together. But we always hear just about the exact opposite. We hear about celebrities the most. All right. It's almost like some celebrities can't stay in good relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same problems, just on a different level. That's all it really is.
Right, 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 right,
So
right. And you're correct. I totally agree. It's just on different levels. You're right. Female nature is female nature. And I like what Tim Howard said. Christianity doesn't exist in the Western world. He's correct. They have a form of godliness, like the Bible say, but they deny the power thereof. They talk from two sides of their mouth. They talk spirituality, but they don't live out spiritual outcomes. And Chris, one of the things I said is some of the cons to marriage is that most women are spiritually out of order, and they like the covering of a man. And K7's talk about winter is coming for many women, not only literal winter as it relates to the stages of life, but winter with the economic downturn is coming. And a lot of women are going to be chameleons. They're going to about face, and they're going to change things up to get the kind of man that they want. And it goes back to what Antoine said. Antoine says, when I used to go to my girlfriend's house, I would pull up in the driveway and sit in my car for another 10 to 20 minutes. I had to prepare myself to deal with her. She wore me out mentally.
I've been there.
Right. You've been there. Right.
I've
Men
been
want
there.
peace. And Chris, as you get older, you just don't have time for disgruntled, combative women. If you're with a wrong woman, she can not only mess your mind up, but she can mess up your biology. There was a misnomer, Chris, in the past that it says that men in relationships live longer. That's a myth. They live longer if they were women that are cooperative, feminine, and fit, and like my man say, feminine amplifiers. But not with women that are more or less combative. Shout out to my man Guapo, but not to women that are combative and women that more or less follow the mandates of their husbands. And that's why I say to myself, man, there really is no benefit for men to get married in these modern times because the ground is not fertile. The
Unless
ground is toxic. Go ahead.
unless unless they take that option and they say, hold on a minute. Maybe if I look across the water, maybe my options for marriage would be a little better. Because I can tell you what, it is. It is. Just saying. I mean, if you, I tell you what, any young man who's really, really hard pressed to get married, oh man, I want to have kids. I want to have kids. Yeah, bro, I feel you. Yeah, get your passport. Facts, straight up. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Do
Chris,
that.
talk about why
It's
women
different.
abroad
It's
are
different over here.
right.
Huh?
Talk about briefly why women abroad are a better option. And as Chris is talking about that, guys, I'm gonna put the link in. I want some of the guys to come in and let's have a conversation. I want you to hit the link and let's call. Please call in. This is a free call in. Let's have a conversation with Chris and I, and we're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about, or we're going to pose the question: can men find peace in modern relationships? So, if one of the guys want to click on the app or click on the link, please come in, click the app, click the link, and let's have a discussion because many men are faltering marriages and relationships. Many men don't see the benefit. And so, Chris, go ahead, brother, real quick. And anyone want to come in, click on the link, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just in regards to how it goes down overseas. I mean, of course, the biggest thing I can say so many things, but I'll start it off by saying the culture is different. You're dealing with a different culture. Facts. I mean, you're not being stuck to um the modern day American ideals or what's being pushed in our culture right now. Um, you're not dealing with so much of that, depending on where you go. Generally, women are more feminine, and I'm speaking on South America in this regard. Women are more feminine. They have more of a drive to be with the man. They're more family oriented. They want to have families, and they want to compete for men because the thing is, they know that their homegirls look just as good as they do. So there's a real competition in the air for, you got 10 of her friends who are all beautiful, and there's like two of y'all, who are upstanding gentlemen from America, you know what I mean? And they're interested in, dealing with a American dude, and the odds are in your favor because now she's on her best behavior because she's in competition. All right. And now she's pushed to stay in the gym. All right. She's pushed to be on her best behavior, if you want to put it that way. But at the end of the day, she is generally geared toward, hey, let me do what it takes to make this man comfortable. And it's not like they're forced. It's like, they want to, they want to do these things. They want to show you that they can be good wives and girlfriends. Um, and that's the difference. They're not, I can say they're not spoiled, you know. They don't have this entitlement, this air about them, Generally they're very open, very nice, very good to talk to. And this is coming from a place where, I mean, yeah, I speak some Portuguese, but I'm by no means fluent. But even, when y'all can not really even be fluent in each other's languages, just the body language in itself is different. Like the little mannerisms of how things move, like, just like it's almost kind of like y'all just met and then they want to hold your hand. They're comfortable with you. They're very um they don't mind kissing in public, and it's just stuff like that. It's just like, whoa, like, is this real? Like, are you really on this type of time right now? So there's things that it's a vibe. Mostly I can say it's a vibe. For those who've been there, they know. For those who haven't been, you just got to go check it out for yourself. But it's not a game. There's a lot of brothers even in this space who, yeah, they have long-term girlfriends and some are married, but they took the overseas option. You know what I'm saying? They took the overseas option. So there are ways. You know what I mean? There are ways that you can deal with being married, and I would say that if you wanna take the overseas option, you can definitely do that. Um, it's just one of those things. Don't let anybody who has tried to talk you out of it, get to you, because I would say don't really take advice for anybody who also hasn't been there either. if they have not traveled or if they have not been to the place that you want to go specifically, um, I would say disregard. Talk to somebody who's traveled. Talk to somebody who's been there. Get your information, and then go and travel to anywhere that you want to go in the world. So, I mean, me personally, because I think you had asked me before about uh, getting married again, and for me, getting married, I don't like I said, I couldn't really see marriage on the table because I don't really see any reason to do so. But if I did, I can definitely say that more than likely, um, I can see it being she'd probably more or less come from overseas, man, just to keep it a buck.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's definitely how I would rock with it. Um, just because I've experienced it and I feel very comfortable being out there in those different cultures. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, it's more comfortable because being here in the states is just kind of like you get kind of played out with just all the stuff that they've been feeding you over and over about how you're supposed to move and dealing with these type of women and stuff like that all the time. It's just like, nah, man. Like, especially when you've experienced something different throughout the rest of the diaspora, because they make you think that you only are supposed to stay in the Americas or in America in the U.S. So, yeah, I definitely say take that option, bro.
Excellent point, Chris. We got my man Kiku on the mic. This is a live call in. And brother, I want you to we were asking the question, modern marriages bring peace and inspiration. And if not, tell us why.
Hey, Peace Coast Clinician, man. I've been really following your show. I really appreciate the work that you've been doing. You've been doing some really great content that I think is really helpful for a lot of us black men. Really critical stuff. Um, I don't. It's to me, it's unfortunate that things have gotten to this place, and I don't think there's any future. There's no solace. There's no. I don't see any rewards or any benefits for men in this country in this Western society right now in terms of not just marriage, but I mean relationships in general. Because I think the other half, our counterparts, just aren't. They're reticent. They're incorrigible. And they gaslight. It's just as Kevin says all the time. They're just operating in bad faith, and they don't have a problem with it. So we unfortunately we have to do what we have to do. The problem, the unfortunate part I think about that is for brothers like us that may be conscious, that care about our communities, that want to do what I think is the logical and natural thing for us as men to do, or and even for any group of people, is to try to make things better for the next for our children and for us as a collective. And I think, unfortunately for us, even dealing with in this country, dealing with various forms of oppression from other people, coming out of a legacy of slavery, et cetera, and all the things on it, it's assumed, or at least when I was younger, I assumed mistakenly that my counterpart was on the same page. And I've had many relationships and have spoken, I had many heart to hearts with not only elders in my family, elders outside of my family, younger women across the board. I'd say maybe 1% or half a percent of these women, um, these lovely ladies, could halfway get on my page and see, the bigger picture. Not that they could, really kind of co-sign and do everything like that, but could say, okay, well, I'm not coming in bad faith. I'm coming to work with you and see eye to eye with you and not be a problem for you. I may not be able to help you per se in some ways to make things better for ourselves, yourself, or us as a people, but I will try my best not to be in your way and I'll try my best to support you. That's half of 1%. So I feel really, really disheartened for younger brothers. And I myself have two sons.
Mhm.
I have an older son and a brand new son.
Mhm.
And the only thing I think about with regards to these conversations that we've been having across YouTube in the quote unquote manosphere for the past few years is I have to figure out a way to tell them that I don't really see a future for them in here in this country.
And I think it's unfortunate, man, because you're correct. There's a lot of mental illness in the black community. I think men and women both need to go to therapy. I think the women need to go to deal with the trauma of bad relationships, but the men need to go keep cool because they assume the women are relics of the past. And you're correct. A lot of them have personality disorders. Many of them do deflect. When you give them the evidence, they deflect or they gaslight. You can present the evidence to them. And they are very delusional. And so when you're dealing with mentally unstable people, you're wasting your time talking to them. You just have to move on, focus on you, focus on your sons. Because Chris and I, we traveled abroad. And Chris will tell you there's better over yonder with women from different countries. What's your take on that?
I agree. I agree. I've had relationships outside of this country as well. I had an extended relationship with a woman in the Caribbean, and unfortunately, her and much of her family might, to a lesser extent, had kind of the same sort of, I would say a junior feminist mindset, a very independent mindset, the same kind of mindset that, men are disposable. I can always get another one, you know. And so I had to reserve myself. And it was painful because each time I kind of entered into a new relationship with good faith, trying and doing something, I think one of the shows you did just, I think it was last week, or I'm sorry, forgive me, a couple weeks ago, where you brought up something that really hit home for me because I think, a lot of men, a lot of my brothers have done this where, we may have come into a relationship, learned what happened, it failed, and we've gone back and reflected and done a deep, deep, deep purification, raising ourselves to a higher level in order to become even better for the next relationship that we go to. And that cycle kept getting repeated and repeated, and it's not being reciprocated. So I had a relationship, I just wanted to put that there. But I also had a relationship with a couple of women actually outside of the country in the Caribbean. Those did not work out. Those were destined to fail. They were playing a role. And then I also had a relationship, a brief relationship with a woman in Africa. That was interesting. She might not have just been the best candidate, but it was definitely much, much better, leagues better. And I am on set to absolutely repatriate to the continent as soon as possible.
Where are you trying to go?
West Africa.
West Africa. Okay. Cool. I've heard good stuff about it. I've heard good stuff about Africa. I haven't been to the continent yet, but I definitely have heard good things about Africa. I've heard it's nice. It depends on what you're looking for. I would say in regards to like those Caribbean women that you brought up, was your expectation marriage, or were you just kind of like, just having fun, just dating around a little bit, hanging out?
I was looking for marriage because I was already on the track to repatriate, kind of coming out of the conscious Black nationalist community. I didn't really see a future for us here in the States anyway, because currently I see it's interesting, right? Because I come out of the 80s. So I've gone to lectures. I have my stripes.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of discussion that's being had now is, to me, unfortunately, rather rudimentary in terms of the scope of the things that we needed to do and where we were as a people in terms of what we were thinking about even just 30 years ago. So it's just very basic. And I see this constant sort of retro regression in terms of our thought and our direction. It's just all very individualistic and short-sighted. You can't. It's like kindergarten. It's kindergarten. I can't even get anywhere. We're not even. Much of the discussions I have with people, you have to build so much foundation to even get to the theory, to even get to the concept.
Yeah.
And it's a waste of time, and it becomes almost entertainment for folks. Where you're talking to somebody trying to build understanding, and they're just absorbing it. And it's like, no, we have things to do as a people. and we need to get on the same page. And if, you know, we're still dealing with ones and twos, and I'm trying, you know, we really actually have to deal with some pre-calculus, then what are we really trying to do? Are you really on board, or what is this? I don't get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You know, one of the things that because
Oh,
I
oh,
listen
by the way,
to
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The name is Kwaku.
Kwaku. All right, Kwaku.
Kwaku.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Born
one of
on
the
Wednesday.
I agree. Uh-huh. But one of the things that I'm saying is that you know, I was listening to the conscious community as well. You know, I was listening to Dr. Valentine, Brother Bobby Hemmett. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the classic lectures. I heard a lot of that stuff too. They talk, you know, obviously a lot about our ancient culture and our ancient history. I was all over that stuff, and you know, the biggest thing that I've learned throughout all my understanding of what we call being conscious and knowledge and back when woke used to actually mean being aware of oneself, knowledge of self, and understanding our consciousness, back before they politically bastardized that whole entire term, um, I did realize that in my journey of understanding is that it's not going to come down to us dragging a whole bunch of people with us to the so-called promised land or whatever it is that we're trying to go in life. You're not gonna take like, you know, your whole neighborhood with you and try to save everybody and stuff like that. You know, I had to learn that too. And I say save yourself, black man, first, and then rock with those who want to come with you, or rock with those who are looking to be a part of that movement. Because you know, like when we talk about traveling other places, I say we don't need everybody to come with us to build. Just give me 300, which I use as a phrase just to say, just give me the ones who are willing to work. You know what I'm saying? And we'll get the job done. But first, you have to do the internal work. You have to save yourself. You know what I mean? Because that's why I like this whole travel and passport lifestyle. Because to me, it's about you have to do the individual work first to achieve success. You can't just wait on a handout. If you want a passport, well, you got to get one. You know, if you want to travel, you got to put in the work. Where are you going? You got to get your money right. There's a barrier to entry. You can't be lazy and wind up in another country. There's work that has to be done. So, like you said, you exercise your options. You went to the Caribbean, you know what I mean, and then you find yourself in out in Africa. And the thing is that I have no issue with any brother who goes anywhere as far as where they want to go to exercise their options, because at the end of the day, it's all about how you want to move and what you feel like your best pathway to life is. You know what I mean? So that's why I champion anybody who wants to go overseas and exercise their options in any country. You know what I'm saying? So you know, big ups to Africa. You know what I'm saying? Big ups to the continent. You know, I plan to visit eventually. I was actually planning on going to, I think it was Zanzibar. I was planning on going out there, you know, visiting, hanging out, seeing what was going on. But nah, man, I've definitely heard great things about Africa. And like I said, bro, like, hey, get them stamps. Get them stamps, man. Get them stamps.
No doubt, no doubt. And you know, it's unfortunate, brother. You know, unfortunately, we have to go through these traverses as it relates to modern dating relationships. You look at guys like Morris Chestnut. That's why I use him as an icon, because I think most men aspire to be like Morris Chestnut, to find, you know, peace and inspiration in a relationship. But unfortunately, K-Cool, I hope I said your name right. K-Cool, did I say it right?
Kwaku.
Kwaku. Well, unfortunately, Kwaku, a lot of these men are actually getting in relationships where these women have been damaged by modernism, and they've been indoctrinated by liberal policies that more or less impede their abilities to function and work with a man. And like Ali Bro said, he's correct. American women want to be partners, not wives, and that's based on the social construct called egalitarianism, where they feel like they are equal to a man in the relationship, and they feel like that they want to share power. But they want to share the power, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with that power. They want the power when it's convenient for them, but when it comes down to the work, they don't want to do that, which is unfortunate. And so, you know, we have these discussions because a lot of men are suffering in silence. As a clinical therapist, I realize a lot of times therapists really don't address these questions with modern men, but especially black men. And you know, my show, I have an abiding love for men of color, but my show's for all men that want help. But I realized that black men are part of a special population that a lot of times they suffer in silence the most because therapists often stigmatize in the black community. And I would say this to you, young brother. If you travel abroad, there are so many other countries. You know, Africa is very broad. There are different countries. Northeast Africans are totally different than Eastern and Western Africans, Central Africans, also South Africans. And so a man can find love because it's more of them than it is of us. But we just gotta know what our worth is and not settle for mediocrity. And that's why we have these programs to bring clarity, conviction, and insight to the challenges that a lot of men have in modern dating and relationships. So Tim Howard said the pro-black hotels have ruined a lot of men. Yeah. In some circles, that is true. That is true. Let me ask you a question, Brother K. Have you ever been married? And if you did get married, what was the relationship like when you were married? Have you ever been married? And what are some of the struggles that you had when you were married?
No, I've never been married, but I've been in a number, probably not unlike many other black men. I've been in a number of long-term relationships.
Right.
With my son, I was in a relationship for, I think it was 8 years. 8 years. We never got married, but you know, I was very young. You know, I was in my early 20s with a child. You know, and I didn't even have a career, much less a good job. So I had to do a lot of, growing immediately without really any kind of familial support or guidance. So, you know, that was rather challenging. Yeah, no, I've had a couple of long-term relationships, a few that have, well, I'd say two that have been over 5 years. Three that have been over 5 years. And yeah, there was always significant issues in each one. Wonderful ladies, but I had a lot to learn in terms of vetting. And still, you know, the primary foundation was not there. We did not know, we were not trained how to work with each other. And then what really made it worse was that I did not know that I could not reason with this person.
Right.
That I did not know.
That's unfortunate, man. And you see that in a lot of relationships. It goes back to what you were saying. Many are very recalcitrant, reticent. Many are corrupt. And unfortunately, many have never seen masculine authority in the families. Some of them grew up with fathers, but those fathers were simps. And because of that, man, we're continuing to go down this negative trajectory. Brother Antoine, he's about to add to the stream. Brother Antoine, how are you doing, sir? And thank you for coming in on the panel and this part of this point of discussion with my man, Young Crab. So Antoine, share your contentment or your discontentment with modern dating relationships. And can a man find peace and inspiration in modern marriages?
Well, first I want to say good afternoon to both of you, to all the gentlemen here, all of my brothers.
It's good, bro.
Going on today's society, and I'm I think I'm a Gen X. I was born in 76, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 65 to 76. I think the expectations are absolutely incredible. It's really hard to believe that we've come to this point. And it's definitely changed a lot since I first started, you know, dating, which was years ago, like in the mid 90s going up to today. It's unbelievable. I think that, excuse me for a moment. Let me just get that real fast. All right, my apologies. Working at home. Sorry about that. But just to think, the whole dating experience has just changed. I think women used to, maybe I was delusional then, but I think women used to appear to appreciate a man a lot more, right, and what we bring to the table, and the things that we do, versus what they're expected to do. I think that they just pretty much want us to do, we're the ones that we're always in a relationship. We're the ones with the problems. We're the ones that, hey, watch your attitude. You don't have to speak to me that way. Don't yell at me. You're losing your temper and things like that. But I think that's like that's just running mental gymnastics on us. Because a lot of times in some of the situations we have to be that way. But then when, it's reversed, on their end, it's like they don't want to change at all. They want you to do all of the changing, all of the adjusting, all the compromising, and all the sacrificing. While what do you get? Hey, you did something wrong. You don't even get accountability. I'm sorry.
Right. No accountability. Right. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. That's it. That's all you get is I'm sorry. You don't get no kind of personalization with that. I call it a template. You basically just give me the template answer. I'm sorry. No, why are you sorry? I need to understand why you're sorry.
Right.
So the more I think it's going to get worse. That's why I put in the chat earlier. I feel sorry for our young brothers because it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree.
We're just the generation to pull it out. But for them, I think it's going to be, if there is going to be a change, it's going to be at least, I think, 2 generations past ours.
Right.
I agree to that. And I told you, I said, I'm not waiting for the change either. I'm not waiting for it.
Right.
And
it's unfortunate.
I'm sorry. I saw an article in Vibe magazine a number of years ago. And it was written by a woman who was commenting on, then this was like, I think in the early 90s. This was in the early 2000s. And she was writing about the change of R&B singers, because, Coach Clinician, I love how you bring in music, and I think it's really important, the music, how, growing up as a Gen Xer, we had so much great love music, and you don't hear that anymore. It's basically you narrating porn to bad beats. And that reminds me, it made me think of the singer Millie Jackson, if some of y'all remember her.
Yeah, we remember her.
All right. So, it just kind of, as I see these so-called singers and rappers, they just all seem to be just different manifestations of Millie Jackson. And, and I think it's just unfortunate, we're just going to have a lot of these porn narrators that are going to run around dressed in, in kind of gold or whatever. And it's just going to be, running around naked as divine whores, forgive me, single mothers, and just having these dysfunctional relationships in communities. And so, yeah, I agree that we're going to have probably just about 2 or 3 generations if we still last that long in this country before.
I totally agree with you, man. You're looking through the lens of the esoteric or the spiritual. Even the gospel said that things will wax worse and worse, and we've seen it, and we're seeing it now more precipitously. And that's why when men advocate for marriage, I would say men should go do very rigorous tests before they decide to make a woman their wife. Comprehensive prenups. It should be a checkoff list. Strong patriarchal countries with strong patriarchal communities, with strong fathers, strong elders, strong spirituality. She got to have all those check marks because those are buffers to bad behavior. It's not a guarantee she won't stray, but it is a buffer. We're talking about the odds. The odds are a lot more higher in those kind of marriages versus relationships that are not. And I would tell guys also to, more or less just focus on themselves, their money, their health, their purpose, because life is fleeting. And it's a bad thing to be in a relationship when you're with a woman that does not value you or honor you as a man. It's not good for your health. And so many of our men are so used to toxic relationships, we tolerate it. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I believe a lot of these women can't submit and cooperate because they've been imprinted by so many men. I think the more men a woman is imprinted by, it greatly reduces her chances of cooperating, because you got to understand women are vessels. And, men are the arbiters of light. We give light. And so if she had the light of multiple men, it's really hard for that woman to submit, because she's been more or less the reflection of so many different minds. A lot of these women in my mind have what I call social schizophrenia. And that's a term that I created because their minds become split or dichotomous because they have been in so many bad relationships and they have the spiritual imprints of so many men. What's your take on that, guys? Real quick.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, I agree to it because, I mean, there's definitely like there's definitely a connection that she is going to build because when a young lady has multiple bodies, like the saying is just that it's going to be much harder for her to lock down and to be in a solid single relationship with one man because she's used to being with multiple dudes. So, I mean, that's just, I mean, everybody knows that, man. Like, and it's sad to say that, but I think everybody knows but them, But according to how the culture is being pushed, the divorce rates, even people who try to have decent relationship, the rates, like look how long people are even staying in relationships. Like, you know what I mean? Because she has to get back out there because girls don't want to be bored. They can't be bored. And I think Kev even said it about how uh good relationships are boring. That's what it's supposed to be. These young ladies don't want to be bored. It's all about, oh, I'm not excited. I don't feel love. I don't do this. I don't do that. He don't do this. I don't do that. But this man is doing everything that he's supposed to do. He's paying the bills. He's got his money right. He's at home. He's not out drinking. He's not out partying. He's at the house with his kids. But that's still not enough for you. I mean, that's a sad story, but a lot of that is true. And especially if before you married her, she was out there in them streets. As soon as she gets bored, and it's in her programming. And to me, especially, if she was out here being a little OnlyFans thought, I mean, come on. Like, I mean, she used to doing all kind of stuff. She don't care. She did it before. So it's just like, she listen, its statistics say she'll have a high tendency to go back to that life because she did it for so long. And when she gets stressed, that's what she'll fall back on because if she was doing that lifestyle and then she goes into a relationship where she tries to do the right thing, it doesn't happen, she'll go back to the last place where she had peace and happiness, and that was the streets.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, Chris, and that's why I bring this content in clarity because I love the brotherhood. I know a lot of men that have suffered in silence, and I went through some trauma myself mentally because I had on the rose-colored glasses, and I thought things were one way, but you find out that things are really totally different. I took on this journey to becoming a licensed therapist back when I was younger because I didn't want to see Black men suffer in silence. And so I'm glad that we're having these discussions because, as I said earlier in the show, a hopeless man is a broken man, and a broken man is a dangerous man. And I would say that the pros of marriage are greatly reduced as it relates to the cons. You got three juggernauts. You got Kay Sanders, you got MTR, this Chris's age, and then you got Coach Greg Adams. And there tends to be some warring factions because it's almost like once some are advocating for marriage, which I don't really see the benefits to some degree, but then some are saying even though with all the benefits, there's still not enough. What's your guys' take, Antoine and Brother K, on the and I think you said Superfax, but on the body imprint? And then we're going to shut this the show down because I have to get ready to see clients. But what's your take on that real quick?
I completely agree. I think every man that a woman is with is definitely an imprint on them. Mm-hmm. It can't be a positive for a woman to have more bodies on them than less. I think the less bodies they have on them, I think you get more of that pure woman that she was initially meant to be, or that she was previously, and when she was first, before she started becoming active. I think the more bodies you get, the further away she gets away from that purity. That's in my head. That's the way I see it. I can't the attitude and the different experiences that she's going through mentally while she's in these other relationships, and they all are not full-fledged intimate relationships. I mean, these situationships and all of these other things, I don't think that they can be positive because I think they jade their perception in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. What's your take on that, Antoine?
Me, Kwaku.
I'm sorry,
I agree.
That was Antoine. I'm sorry. All right, go ahead. Kwaku, go ahead, brother.
I agree. I think that I think that there's just too much convenience. There's just way too much convenience, and at this stage, women are, that's the whole culture. That's all they've been hearing for at least the past 20 years. Is go out here, and so the whole infrastructure is all set up. They can have there's just too much that can happen behind the scenes, and unfortunately, I think a lot of females look at it as a game. They don't take it seriously. You're a joke to them. You supply X amount of things, and those things are interchangeable. And so gaslighting you, lying to you, playing with your emotions, or doing whatever is just a part of the sport, part of the game. And so once it gets tired, or once because I've been in relationships, and I can be the boring guy. I've been the boring guy. When you're working, planning, taking care of, doing all the things, I mean, after a while, the times to hang out and do those other things, sometimes they're few and far between in certain instances. So it's not all fun. It would be a lot easier if you actually had someone working with you. But no, unfortunately, no, I don't. There's just too much, and it becomes this silly argument where if you're asking or requesting someone to be responsible and adult in a relationship, then it becomes this this manipulation debate. So no, I think it's a waste. I think it's a waste, and it's a loss.
Well, guys, I want you guys to go check the show out that I did in the past with Dr. Thunder, I believe. I don't know if it's him. I think it was him, or maybe it was the Exodus. It was the Exodus, or the smuggling of the American male. But go check that show out, the Exodus, or taxation without representation, and the mental breaking of the American male. And that more or less qualifies the different stages of grief that a man go through, from blue pill to more or less red pill to the black pill, where he's just indifferent. And it appears that we're in a black stage, or black pill purview, where men really don't see any hope. It's like whatever, it's almost like chaos or anarchy, whatever. What's done is done. It can't be recovered. And I think we're too far down the rabbit hole to ever have any semblance of normalcy, because there is no accountability. There are no structures to hold our women accountable. And because of that, I think the black community will continue to be the cesspool that it is. What's you guys take on that?
Absolutely.
No disagreement on my part. I see exactly the way you see it. You heard what I said. 2 generations. I think we're in for one.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I totally agree, guys. Dr. Thunder, if you're listening, drop in for about a few seconds. We're gonna shut it down. I got to see clients, but drop in for a few seconds. And guys, listen, if you like what I'm doing, please donate to $ or Cash Out, $ Cash Out 7 Smalls. And then also, please share this content with as many men as possible, because it's needed in this critical time. Share it with 20, 30, 50 men. Tell them to like, share, and subscribe. But also, tell them to go check out my man, Chris Strongheart. He got a channel that talks about consciousness. And he's a producer of our shirts called The Fat Meat is Greasy.
He's greasy.
Because a lot of our women don't believe that the fat meat is greasy, but also a lot of our men, Antoine, don't believe that the fat meat is greasy either, because they think that a lot of our women are like their great grandmothers and their grandmothers, and most, not all, most modern women are only relics of the past. They're relics of the past.
I think that their grandparents and ancestors would turn over in their graves right now. I don't think this is what they intended to raise.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, listen, guys, before we shut it down, what did you guys get from the show? And based on the evidence that me and Chris more or less collaborated with and more or less talked about, would you say with 70 to 90% of divorces ended in marriage as it based on social trends, nearly 29% of men are virgins of this generation of millennials and zennials, and over 7% of kids are born out of wedlock, mostly in the African American community, and fatherlessness have become a social epidemic? Are there any benefits to a man getting married? Before we close off, what would you guys say about that? What would you say about that, Antoine?
Okay, now I'm 45 and I don't have any children. So to me, outside of children, I can't really see a benefit.
Right.
Because I mean, maybe I was sleepwalking all through life, but I don't really see, I'm just going to be honest, as far as companionship where someone is actually on the same page as me, that's not looking, for, what their hidden agenda. I don't know. I don't know if it's really beneficial to men to have something outside of if you're super high value and you want to get higher in the ranks. Most people that are higher, they are married, so you got to go for the look of it. But outside of that, I don't know. I don't think it looks good right now.
Right. No, I totally agree, man. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of fragmentation in our communities, and it appears to be getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, I'll
Chris,
say one thing though.
yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I'll say one thing as far as it pertains to that. It's just like there's a lot of the only real standing point you'll hear that some men will try to make is that they want to have kids. Well, I mean, in this country, to really, I would say, wait. Wait until you're a little older. Again, try to get on your purpose, get your stuff right. You know what I mean? Get your mind focused.
Agreed.
Because the thing is, when it comes down to kids, more than likely you ain't gonna raise them. See, that's the sad story that a lot of men don't want to think about. More than likely, she gonna divorce you. Like I said, look at the divorce rates. Yeah, within the first 1 or 2 years of marriage, you pop out all the kids out of her all you want. But guess what? You ain't gonna be in their lives. The statistics tell you that. So then, if you want to run that narrative of, I just want to have a family. Guess what? She does too, and it's a family where you're not the father involved in those children's lives. That's the type of family that she is involved with because her allegiance is to the state. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Her big daddy is the state because whenever she calls 911, when she's dragging you through child support services, when she's dragging you through the court system, guess who she's giving her allegiance and authority to? The state. That's who you really married to, and that's the third man that's in y'all's lives because it's almost like you have to go through the state to deal with your woman. You think she's your woman, but you see when things get tough, the man that she really relies on is Big Daddy America. So, but that's my take on it. By the way, guys, like on my YouTube channel, you can check me out. It's Aisu the Guru. That's AISU the Guru. Also, I go by the name Chris Strongart. That is my business because I am a graphic designer by trade. You see my work behind me. Check my website out, chrisstrongart.com. I do shirts like this. I got hats, merch, shirts, everything, the whole nine. Check me out. IG, same name, at Chris Strongart on IG. Man. Check me out.
Right, no doubt. Yeah, we're actually promoting shirts. So if you guys want to order shirts, Chris, show them the shirt that we created. Show them the shirt again. And so go check out Chris. That's a lit shirt.
Fat meat is greasy.
The fat meat is greasy. It talks about the 252 in North Carolina, the 704.
Yeah, the 704.
And so guys, please, if you want shirts, check out me and Chris, or you can email me at coachclinician@gmail.com. Chris will get those shirts facilitated. And we're just trying to liberate one man at a time, man. I love the brotherhood. I love these conversations. And like I said, these shows are very time-consuming. Content creation is work. Oh, my God. It's a lot of work. But because I love the brotherhood and I love to see men in power, I take a lot of time, sometime in the wee hours of the night, getting this content written. Now, listen, guys, please like, share, subscribe, and hit all future notifications. But also, before we end this show, guys, if you haven't donated, donate to $ Cash App 7 Smalls. That's $ Cash App 7 Smalls. And like I said, share this content, man. Help grow this channel. And let's get the message out because a lot of men are suffering in silence. And I don't want to see no men go to the graves or more or less be in their cars, not having the recourse to have any type of peace. All right. So we're about to sign off. And guys. And I've said it once and I've said it in the past. And Frederick Douglass said it better than me. He said that power never conceded to anything without a struggle. It never have. And it never will. And I told you guys in the past that there are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. Female psychology, understanding female psychology, but also optimizing the mental and physical health of a man is also very paramount. And if anyone never told you before, I'm going to tell you now. Remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. I want you to listen to this live stream. It's about 54 seconds of the hour, 3 o'clock. We're going to more or less pump up some jams, and we're going to sign off. Enjoy.
I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Now today say,
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
go, 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 go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting them scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off. Son of God, no, I am not son of man. Blessings keep falling, the fingers keep coming in. I got you, but just know I'm texting like Uncle Sam. Left to the bank, you know that I'm coming in. We don't do it for the bands though, we don't do it for the clout. Legacy on the line, so I'm moving in and out. Seen good ones turn top dog, greedy ones get knocked off. I keep looking at the bench like I could never not ball. Coach keep me in the game, Curry deadly with the range. I keep looking in the mirror like, who is he? I'm insane. Who am I? He insane. Guess I am the one to blame. What's done is done, won't change. Time to live up to my name. Real will be real, fake gon' fall. Took time with this here, I'm made for a while. No sleeping while I won't fall. No sleeping while I won't lead out. I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Now today say,
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
go, 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 go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting them scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off. Told my baby, meet me at the bank. Told my mama, I'ma break the trend. Locked in, I'ma change the weight. Working for them, baby's kids. Hard times couldn't make the rent. Working hard, couldn't save a cent. Lonely nights, just me and God. Swear to him, always made the ends. Grab a paper, see the news. Hate coming by the tools. Walk a mile in my shoes. Something you could never do. Got my back against the wall. Bet I always pull through. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Sending shots, I block 'em. Superman with the moves. Rock 'em, sock 'em, drop bop 'em. Play to win, never lose. Run it up, I top 'em. Play full belly too. I hip hop or pop 'em. Anything I could do. The real won't be real, fake gon' fall. Took time with this here, I made for a while. No sleeping while I won't fall. No sleeping while I won't lead out. I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse.
Now today say,
This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns.
go, 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 go.
Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off. You living boring, I'm gonna set it off. Shooting them scoring, I'm gonna set it off. Like soldiers torn, I'm gonna set it off.
I'm trying to touch the States this time. 2021. Gotta show him I can still rap though.
Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. Run it up. First it was the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the bag like here I go again. Outside says the chirp, now the camera phone. Told you I'ma make, keep the channels on. Why you acting different when the camera's on? Why you acting different like your paper long? 8 day wake up and I thank God. Bad decision got you wishing you could say nah. My city gritty, you could get hit any day now. On my mama, I'ma move my family way out. With some 20s, 50s, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, zillions. I'm talking Amazon money, talking so much money I could mess around and buy Amazon. I I been winning, I'm like, why me? I heard these labels wanna buy me. I don't need you, boo, I style me. I roll G's and they grind me. Now I'm on my game, nothing is the same. Who am I to blame? Money made me change. Cardi in my ring when I'm switching lanes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Now I got a buck for all those rainy days. Ain't have a day off in like 80 days. I got hustles in like 80 ways. Kids if he won't take a lazy day. Wifey on me told me take a break. I keep going to the paper straight. Then it's trips out to Montego Bay. If I take the job, bet I get it done. I said it before, I'm a one-on-one. I just caught some ones, only wearing ones. Fornicate the funds, money made me come. Diamonds on your neck, bet they on your neck. You want that watch, you better rock it tech. You want that chain, you better cop a vest. You want the check, but can you make it stretch?
I know, I roll, 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 roll.
I know, I roll, 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 no drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
No drip,
I roll, 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 no drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
I know,
I roll, 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 no drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
no drip,
I roll, 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 no drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
I know,
This a river, I roll, roll, roll. Don't slip, I be on my 10 toes. Way she threw it at me, I'm like, whoa, whoa. Been with her since before I had a phone. I've been with the gang, we some pup-ups. Stay on top of green like a putt-putt. Acting all mean, giddy, yo. Do my own thing, so I know, I roll, roll, roll. No drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
no drip,
I roll, roll, roll. No drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
I know,
I roll, roll, roll. No drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
no drip,
I roll, roll, roll. No drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
I know,
I can chubby belly bigger, now I eat good. Not one, not two, I'm talking three good. You move shaky, you play me, you only preach good. Tried this on me, you owe me, you should've schemed good. Now I got you alright. Hot girl summer, had to put you on nice. Talking on my ear, alright. She just want the Louis but I got from Off-White, right? Racks under my pillow, now I sleep good. LA onto the choker so she can breathe good. And my little babies get whatever they want. If I say it, I mean it, no front. I know, I roll, roll, roll. No drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
no drip,
I roll, roll, roll. No drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
I know,
I roll, roll, roll. No drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
no drip,
I roll, roll, roll. No drip, this a river, I roll, roll, roll.
I know.
Det var första gången vi möttes. Våra blickar bara möttes. Kommer du ihåg det igen? Kommer du ihåg igen? Du vill ha icy little fingers. Då du vet det chalas. All in, ingen broms, schackmatt på din vänster hand. Du är så viktig baby. Ja, du är allians. Du är försiktig baby. Men du gav mig en chans. Det är 50-50 baby. Men det är balans. Jag växlar upp för dig baby. Ingen annan. Det var fan ingen dans på någon ros innan jag träffade någon som det. Som det baby. Det var fan ingen dans på någon ros innan jag träffade någon som det. Du är mitt liv baby. Aldrig titta på någon annan. Varför du med annan? Kom var med mig baby. Aldrig lita på någon annan.
in the morning. You got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening. Wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again. Argue about everything, you are my darling. Let's kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day. I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say